Chapter 3978. Green Lotus, Swordswoman's eyes were cold. Deacon Bai was an idiot who didn't know what was good for him. She had given him a lot of face because they were both working for the golden, heavenly nation. This guy didn't know what was good for him. Since that was the case, he could die if he wanted to. That's right. I'm not convinced. With Elder Green Lotus's strength, it's impossible for him to pass the test so easily. Deacon Bai said, "Are you doubting me?" Green Lotus, Swordswoman's face darkened. "Don't think that I won't dare to kill you just because your family is powerful in the golden, heavenly nation. I don't dare to doubt Elder Green Lotus. But if you do this, those martial artists who have been preparing for this test will be disappointed. They have been preparing for so long but failed. But this guy passed it so easily. Who can accept this?" Deacon Bai had made up his mind. He didn't care about Green Lotus, Swordswoman's killing intent at all. "Then what do you want?" Ling Xiao suddenly spoke. "Boy, if you can take 30 moves from me, I'll be convinced." Deacon Bai felt that he was just frightened. He had seen the battle between Ling Xiao and Green Lotus, Swordswoman. It was not as terrifying as he had imagined. That was why he suggested this idea. "Haha, that's too easy for me." Ling Xiao suddenly laughed. "How about this? Let's have a life and death duel in the arena. If I survive, I'll go to the Fighting Soul Sacred City. If I die, you won't have a chance. Do you dare? A life and death duel? Do you dare?" With just one sentence, Deacon Bai's face instantly turned ugly. He just didn't want Ling Xiao to become a disciple of the golden heavenly nation so easily. That was why he wanted to make things difficult for him. But he wasn't sure if he could fight with his life on the line. "Don't talk nonsense if you don't dare. If trash like you can become a deacon, why can't I, Ling Xiao, become a disciple of the golden heavenly nation?" Ling Xiao looked at Deacon Bai contemptuously and said domineeringly, "Who don't dare?" Deacon Bai heard the discussion in the crowd. It was mockery and sarcasm. He couldn't raise his head at all. He was a person who cared about his face. Generally speaking, those who were reputable were very concerned about their reputation. Therefore, he absolutely could not tolerate such provocation. Deacon Bai soared into the air and jumped into the arena. "A battle to the death it is. Do you really think this deacon is afraid of you?" Deacon Bai said loudly, "All right, since you're not afraid, let's sign a life and death contract. No matter who dies, the other party will not be held responsible." Ling Xiao sneered. He was already too lazy to bother with Deacon Bai. After all, he was going to cultivate in the 3,000 holy cities, and killing a gold deacon was not a good idea. But this guy insisted on making things difficult for him. What could he do? Could it be that he had to swallow his anger, acting as if nothing had happened? That's impossible. That wasn't his style at all. The two of them signed a life and death contract under the witness of Green Lotus Swordswoman. Then he returned to the arena. This scene once again ignited the crowd's enthusiasm. To be honest, the battle between Ling Xiao and the Green Lotus Swordswoman was not something that they enjoyed watching. After all, it was over after only one exchange. This time he had to make up for all the regrets he had just now. "Go to hell, kid." Deacon Bai circulated his energy and punched out with both fists. The wind, created by his fists, roared out. His aura was like a huge mountain pressing down onto Ling Xiao. Even the ground cracked because of the impact. This proved how powerful this guy's attack was. Dodge. Green Lotus Swordswoman couldn't help but remind Ling Xiao. However, Ling Xiao gently shook his head. He was still standing there, staring at Deacon Bai with an indifferent expression. Dodge. Did he need to dodge? He possessed a peak 7th Order Emperor Realm combat body. It was even stronger than a rare grade Heavenly King weapon. A mere peak 6th Divine Core Warrior couldn't possibly hurt him. "You're courting death." Deacon Bai was worried that Ling Xiao would dodge his attack with his movement skill. But when he saw Ling Xiao was courting death, all his worries were gone. An arrogant brat. He had really overestimated him before. The next moment, A terrifying explosion sounded out. Deacon Bai's fists fiercely slammed onto Ling Xiao's body. The ferocious shockwave forced Ling Xiao back, and his feet left deep trenches on the ground. He was pushed back dozens of meters. However, what shocked everyone was that not only was Ling Xiao not injured, he even had a faint smile on his face. "Gold Deacon? You're nothing special." Ling Xiao looked at Deacon Bai and sneered. "Not good." Only now did Deacon Bai realize how frightening Ling Xiao was. He turned around and tried to flee. However, Ling Xiao grabbed his legs. "Since you agreed to the life and death duel, don't be in such a hurry to leave." "How dare you? I'm a gold deacon, sent here by the golden, heavenly nation. My family is the supreme existence in the 3,000 saint cities. If you dare to kill me, you'll die a horrible death." Deacon Bai furiously roared. "Is that so? I haven't heard such a threat for a long time. I really miss it. But too bad. I, Ling Xiao, like to provoke big families and superpowers like you. What should I do now?" Ling Xiao said with a mocking smile. Threatening him with his family? Would he be afraid? More than 1 or 2 families had been destroyed because they had offended him. He had never been afraid. If it wasn't for these families, how could he have become so powerful? Die! In front of everyone, Ling Xiao killed Deacon Bai with a single slap. Even his inner core was shattered by the slap. If Jian Chen wanted to kill someone, he had to do it thoroughly. If he left his inner core behind, his enemy would definitely come back. How can this young man be so frightening? That's right, Gold Deacon couldn't even withstand a single strike from him. No wonder Elder Green Lotus was so sure he could become a disciple of the golden, heavenly nation after just 1 strike. His talent and strength, if the golden, heavenly nation doesn't want him, I'm afraid the Eternal Palace will. I'm willing to bet that his cultivation is not just at the peak 4th divine core realm. I'm sure he's stronger than that. After witnessing Deacon Bai's death, after a brief moment of silence, the crowd burst into an uproar, as if a volcano had erupted. A gold deacon was a very high position in the Western Heavenly King, but he was killed by a young man so easily. This could be considered to be a record. No matter what happened in the future, Ling Xiao's name had spread far and wide today. In this Battle Soul City, there was probably no one who did not know of his existence. Deacon Bai has been killed, and Ling Xiao is the winner. Now, is there anyone else who doubts my decision? Sword Maiden Green Lotus looked at the crowd with an indifferent expression. Of course, no one dared to say anything. Even the other gold deacons lowered their heads, no matter what they thought in their hearts. Ling Xiao had defeated Deacon Bai fair and square. He didn't use any tricks. "Ha ha ha, good brother, I was looking down on you just now. I thought you were too arrogant. But now, it seems like you have a reason to be arrogant. On behalf of the Fighting Soul Saint City, I welcome you. My name is Zhanlong." When Sword Maiden Green Lotus had arranged for Ling Xiao to come to the Fighting Soul Saint City, Zhanlong was actually a little upset. But now all of that was gone. Chapter 3979. I'm Ling Xiao. Sensing Zhanlong's good intentions, Ling Xiao cupped his fist and said, "Congratulations, Ling Xiao. With your talent, you'll definitely become a hot commodity after joining the Fighting Soul Sacred City. Don't forget about your brother in the future." Zhanlong said with a laugh. All the men standing behind Zhanlong were envious of Jiang Qin as well. Ling Xiao's performance was too eye-catching. Even the Golden Deacon was no match for him. "But I killed Deacon Bai. I'm afraid I'll be in trouble, right?" Ling Xiao said with a smile. "Don't worry about that. Although Deacon Bai's family is powerful in the 3,000 saint cities, our Fighting Soul Sacred City doesn't care about them. There are over 100,000 disciples in the Fighting Soul Sacred City. Since you've become a disciple of the Fighting Soul Sacred City, even Deacon Bai's family won't dare offend you." Zhanlong said in a heroic manner. "Fighting Soul Sacred City? I'm honored." Ling Xiao said with a smile on his face. "Although He wanted to go to the Golden City more. The 3,000 saint cities was just the beginning. If he wanted to go to the Golden City, he had to become a golden disciple of the 3,000 saint cities. Then he had to stand out from the other golden disciples to be invited to the Golden City. Although he didn't know the status of the Fighting Soul Sacred City among the 3,000 saint cities, Jiang Qin had no idea. But since Sword Lady Azure Lotus suggested him to join, she wouldn't harm him. It should be a good place. All right. Zhan Long forcefully patted Ling Zhao's shoulder. This guy's cultivation had reached the peak 6th heavenly core realm. Although he wasn't strong, he was at the level of a golden deacon. As for Sword Lady Azure Lotus, Ancestor Scarlet Flame, and Zhao Fengyin, they were existences that transcended the mortal world. They couldn't be compared to each other. Just by looking at how respectful Zhan Long was to them, one could tell. All right, stop talking nonsense. Didn't you say you're in a hurry? Let's go now. Sword Lady Azure Lotus said impatiently. Understood, Elder Azure Lotus. Zhan Long was shocked. Sword Lady Azure Lotus was a key figure in the Golden City. Even the city lord of the Fighting Soul Sacred City was nothing in front of her. He definitely couldn't afford to offend such a person. Ling Xiao, go to Fighting Soul Sacred City and cultivate diligently. Maybe we'll meet again. At that time, it will be in the City of Gold. Green Lotus Swordswoman looked at Ling Xiao and revealed a trace of gentleness. It was like the expression of a mother looking at her son. Ling Xiao knew that Green Lotus Swordswoman cherished talent. After all, his performance had surprised the Green Lotus Swordswoman. I will, Senior. Then Ling Xiao, Zhan Long, and the other cultivators who had joined Fighting Soul Sacred City stepped into the transmission array leading to Fighting Soul Sacred City. The huge teleportation array shone with mysterious runes. In the blink of an eye, everyone arrived on a completely different piece of land. It's really rich in spiritual energy. With the amount of energy here, even a warrior from a remote town can easily break through to the divine core realm. Ling Xiao sighed with emotion. He had come so far and experienced so many things. Ling Xiao discovered a secret. That was, the difference between the aptitudes of martial artists was not as great as one would imagine. What was truly different was the environment they were in. If he was born in the Golden Heavenly Nation, his cultivation base would have most likely reached the divine physique realm, or even higher. Of course, he would lose a lot of experience if he was born in the Golden Heavenly Nation. The Fighting Soul Sacred City is right in front of us. Listen up, the Fighting Soul Sacred City is above average among the 3,000 sacred cities. It's very strong. Furthermore, every single sacred city is stronger than the combined strength of the 4 superpowers. The strongest cultivators here are at the same level as the strongest cultivators from the 4 superpowers. You can think of it simply as the 3,000 sacred cities. It's equivalent to 3,000 superpowers. Zhan Long looked at the crowd and said, If the sacred city is weaker than the superpowers, there's no need for me to come here. Ling Xiao said with an indifferent tone. He wasn't surprised at all. The sacred city was stronger than the superpowers, and that was why they could attract cultivators from the superpowers. Otherwise, what was the point? You're not surprised? Zhan Long was surprised when he saw Ling Xiao's expression. There's nothing to be surprised about. If the sacred city is weaker than the superpowers, I might as well stay in the Western Heavenly King and cultivate. Ling Xiao said with an indifferent tone. Good kid, you're awesome. Let me tell you about the situation in the Fighting Soul Sacred City. The rest of the sacred cities are similar. The strongest cultivator in the Fighting Soul Sacred City is called the Saint Lord of Fighting Soul. Under the Saint Lord are 7 city lords, each in charge of different affairs. To be honest, I have no idea how strong the City Lord and Saint Lord are, but I do know about the 72 Saint Generals under the City Lord. Every single one of them had reached the perfect 6th divine core realm. Below the Saint Generals are over 1,000 commanders, and the weakest of them is at the early 5th heavenly core realm. For example, I'm one of the Saint Generals." After saying that, Jean Long felt proud. "Greetings, Lord Saint General." Everyone gave Jean long face. They cupped their fists and bowed to him. "No need to be so courteous. Just listen to what I have to say. The ones that are directly related to you are the commanders. There are over 1,000 commanders in the Fighting Soul Sacred City. Every commander has 100 disciples under his command. They occupy an entire palace. The commanders will be in charge of your daily cultivation and living. The commanders will take orders from the Saint Generals. Since all of you are so obedient, I'll tell you a good thing. If you perform well, you might be accepted as a disciple by the Saint Generals. At that time, you'll have a meteoric rise. The Saint Generals don't have many disciples. Most of them have around a dozen disciples, and some only have 1 or 2 disciples. The relationship between the disciples and the Saint Generals is even closer. The commanders are just the subordinates of the Saint Generals, but the disciples are the Saint Generals' family. The Saint Generals can even order the commanders around. Jean Long explained in detail. It seemed like this man was a good person. Actually, he didn't have to say this, but he still did. The Saint Generals can accept disciples. Does that mean the city lords, or even the Saint Lords, can accept disciples as well? Ling Xiao couldn't help but ask. He wasn't interested in the Saint Generals. A peak 6th Heavenly Corps Saint General couldn't even defeat him. So of course he wasn't interested. But he was interested in the city lords and Saint Lords. Of course I can. To tell you the truth, I'm one of the Saint Lords' personal disciples. I'm doing pretty well, but I'm not as good as my 7 senior brothers. They are all city lords now, but I'm just a Saint General, Jean Long said with a bitter smile. Saint General Jean Long, you're not weak, Ling Xiao said with a smile. What he said was true. Jean Long wasn't old. He looked less than 30 years old, but he was already a peak 6th Heavenly Corps warrior. This was already an incredible feat other than those peerless geniuses who were truly gifted by the heavens. There were not many people who could reach his level. Thank you for your encouragement, but I think you're already stronger than me. Therefore, I'm going to recommend you to become my master's disciple. Jean Long had high hopes for Ling Xiao as well. Chapter 3980. Then Ling Xiao will thank Sacred General Jean Long first. No need to thank me. I'm just recommending you. Whether you can get my master's approval or not is another matter. When you succeed, you can treat me to a drink. Jean Long smiled. That's no problem. Ling Xiao liked to interact with straightforward people like Jean Long. Because there was no need to scheme, it was very relaxing. In the 3,000 sacred cities, he must become the most outstanding disciple. Then he would step into the small world where the Golden City was located. Let's go. I've told you the general situation. Now we can go to Fighting Soul Sacred City. Sacred General Jean Long walked forward. The rest of the people followed, closely behind. Not far away, a huge city that stretched as far as the eye could see was located there. An ancient and vigorous aura was released, making everyone feel a little depressed. They were also a little excited. Fighting Soul Sacred City is very big, but everything in the city is divided according to the area, and it's very orderly. It's not much different from an ordinary city. If there's a difference, it's that the city is full of powerful martial artists, and there are powerful formations and arrays everywhere. So, follow me closely and don't wander around. After you officially become a disciple of Fighting Soul Sacred City, someone will take you slowly to familiarize you with the city. Some people have been here for hundreds of years and have never seen the full appearance of Fighting Soul Sacred City. Where are we going now? Ling Xiao asked curiously. To the recruitment hall. Jean Long replied. Every new batch of martial artists who join Fighting Soul Sacred City has to report to the recruitment hall. Receive the disciple token. At the same time, there will be interested experts who will come to observe. If any of you can gain their favor, you will be directly promoted as their true disciple. Not only will it be easier to cultivate in the future, your status will also rise. Hearing Jean Long's words, Everyone was very excited. No matter who it was, they all hoped to have a better master, to get better guidance. Ling Xiao was no exception. He knew very well how helpful a good master and helpful friend would be to him. When they arrived at the recruitment hall, there were already many people waiting there. Most of them were commanders and sacred generals. In fact, the recruitment hall was already aware of their arrival the moment they stepped into War Soul Sacred City. He also informed all the higher-ups of Fighting Soul Sacred City about this. Whoever wanted a disciple could choose one. The commanders and saint generals released their auras without any concealment. The people who were with Ling Xiao were under a lot of pressure, and their faces didn't look good. However, Ling Xiao didn't mind. Unless his opponent was an 8th level divine core warrior, he wouldn't be able to give Jiang Qin any pressure. Sacred General Zhanlong, did you bring back any good seedlings this time? A saint general walked over and asked excitedly. Evidently, this person had a good relationship with Zhanlong. You'll know in a while. However, I'm afraid you won't have the chance. I'm going to recommend this person to the Holy Lord. Zhanlong smiled. He was also a sacred general and knew that he was not qualified to be Ling Xiao's master. Ling Xiao had easily defeated Deacon Bai, who had the same cultivation level as him. He had seen it with his own eyes. They're here. Ling Xiao suddenly sensed a frightening pressure descending upon him. These higher-ups really didn't know how to restrain themselves. Were they purposely using such methods to make the newcomers fear them? The people around him had all knelt down. Their bodies were trembling, as if they had just sensed something terrifying. There were a total of 4 people. All 4 of them were peak 7th divine core warriors. In other words, they were mayor-level warriors. With such strength, unless Ling Xiao used the martial soul of Tyrant, he wouldn't be able to defeat them. They were barely qualified to be his master. Among these 4 people, 2 were men and 2 were women. It was a balanced group. There were a total of 7 mayor in Fighting Soul Sacred City, and 4 of them were here. It looked like they were quite interested in Jiang Chen's group. After the 4 of them landed, dozens of young men flew over excitedly. They should be the disciples of these 4 mayor. Judging from their dressing, Jiang Chen couldn't be wrong. Let me introduce you. This is Diying, Mayor Di. Ling Xiao noticed that this Diying was the strongest among the 4. Although they were all peak 7th divine core warriors, there was still a huge difference in their overall strength. This man was wearing a black outfit, and he had a cold expression on his face, as if someone owed him a lot of money. This is Wang Hao, Mayor Wang. Mayor Wang was a chubby guy. He didn't look old, and his slightly chubby body made him look cute. Also, he always had a smile on his face, making him easy to get close to. This is Hua Fei Hua, Mayor Hua. City Mistress Hua looked very flirtatious, but her makeup was a little too thick. In any case, Ling Xiao felt that he couldn't stand it. The last one is Jiang Nan, Mayor Jiang. Mayor Jiang and Ling Xiao were both surprised. This girl seemed to be in her early 20s. She looked fresh and elegant. She wore a green dress, and she did look like Sword Maiden Azure Lotus. But she was much younger than Sword Maiden Azure Lotus, and she looked lively. She didn't look like a mayor, but more like a big kid. When she arrived, she greeted the newcomers and even stuck out her red tongue. What? Sacred General Zhanlong, aren't the goods you've brought this time a little too weak? The strongest among them is only a peak 4th divine core warrior. Also, they don't look young anymore. They're already 18 years old. Suddenly, a voice sounded out from behind these 4 men. It was a young man who looked to be around 14 years old, and he had an arrogant expression on his face. His tone was extremely arrogant as well. It was as if a peak 4th divine core warrior wasn't worth mentioning in his eyes. But in fact, he was only an early 5th divine core warrior. Sai, our Fighting Soul Saint City is ranked at the bottom. Among the 3,000 saint cities, all of them are ranked at the top 1,000. I don't think any of the truly strong cities will choose us. Looks like we don't have to go to the Western Heavenly King City anymore. We can just train our own people. Next to the young man was a young girl. Both of them were around the same age, and their temperaments were similar as well. Both of them were arrogant and rude. That's right. Look at the Sword Soul Saint City among the disciples they brought back. There's a peak 6th divine, core warrior. More importantly, he is only 16 years old. TSK, I don't think these guys will be able to reach his level in their entire lives. The young boy spoke again, and his words were filled with sarcasm. Shut up! Di Ying suddenly shouted out with a stern voice. The Western Heavenly Kingdom is not like the Golden Heavenly Kingdom. The cultivation conditions there aren't that great. It's already not easy for them to reach this level of cultivation. Besides, since they can pass the test, they are qualified to become disciples of the 3,000 saint cities. Understood, Master. The young boy and girl stuck out their tongues. Although they said they understood, their expressions showed that they didn't care. Chapter 3981. Zhan Long said, for city lords, there are a total of 32 people. I selected them from the 108 cities of the Western Heavenly King's capital. 3 of them are from the Fighting Soul City. They were chosen by Elder Green Lotus, Ancestor Scarlet Flame, and General Zhao. Oh! Di Ying scanned the 32 people and showed a disappointed expression. Not bad. Maybe a few of them can get the recognition of the Sacred General, but it won't be so easy to get the recognition of the City Lord. Di Ying, you still like to attack these kids. Although we have good eyesight, there are times when we make mistakes. You guys don't have to worry, even if you are not chosen this time. After you stay here, you can cultivate and participate in the new disciple assessment. There is still a chance that you will be chosen. Jiang Nan said with a smile. Just them? Fei Hua laughed disdainfully, but she did not say anything worse. Obviously, she did not think highly of these people. I think Elder Green Lotus and the others are old. Any kind of people can pass the assessment. Hearing this, Ling Xiao frowned. This Fei Hua was disrespectful to Green Lotus swordswoman, which made him unhappy. After all, he owed Green Lotus swordswoman a favor. Any kind of people can pass the assessment. City Lord Hua's words are a little irresponsible. I don't know about the other cities, but the 3 people from the Fighting Soul City are definitely not much worse than your personal disciples. Ling Xiao was not afraid of some *T City Lord. He was actually a little disappointed that the Sacred Lord did not come. So he wanted to find a chance to make a fuss, hoping to attract the Sacred Lord. City Lord Hua happened to give him a chance. Presumptuous! Who are you to speak when the City Lord is speaking? Fei Hua shouted sternly. Haha, if you don't want to say it, then don't say it. The City Lord only has this ability to bully others. Ling Xiao mocked. Zhan Long, who is this person? How can he be so rude? Doesn't he know how to speak to the City Lord? Fei Hua looked at Zhan Long and said sternly, City Lord Hua, there's no need to be too angry. Our Fighting Soul Sacred City's rules have always been that whoever's fist is bigger has the right to speak. Even if he is just a disciple, as long as he has enough strength and talent, it is not a big deal to refute the City Lord's words. Don't such things happen all the time? Zhan Long said indifferently. Although City Mistress Hua could be considered as his senior sister, because his cultivation was not that high, he was often looked down upon by her. Today, it was time for him to hold his head high. Moreover, this is the disciple that I'm going to recommend to the Holy Lord's Master. Even if you want it, I won't give it to you. Zhan Long continued with a smile. He was just a perfect 4th divine core warrior. However, he was already 18 years old. Although his aptitude wasn't bad, it wasn't good either. Even we don't like him, let alone the Sacred Master. Fei Hua said disdainfully. That's only because your eyesight is too poor. You can't see the good in him at all. He was recommended to me by Elder Green Lotus, Ancestor Scarlet Flame, and General Zhao. I have personally witnessed his prowess. To put it bluntly, you Vice City Lords aren't qualified to give him any pointers. Zhanlong was going to argue with Hua Feihua today. Just as Hua Feihua was about to say something, Ding spoke first. Zhanlong, since all three seniors have taken a liking to this young man, he must be extraordinary. I'm sure he must have some outstanding points. Why don't you tell me about it? Hua Feihua was obviously afraid of Ding. She didn't say anything else. Zhanlong cupped his fist toward Ding and said with respect, reporting to City, Lord Ding, this young man's name is Ling Xiao. Although his cultivation is only at the perfect fourth divine core realm, his body is extremely strong. Not only that, he is also an expert in the art of sword. His movement skill is also unpredictable. You might not believe me if I tell you this. He single-handedly wiped out the Long Saber Gang in Battle Soul City. The Long Saber Gang was made up of divine core warriors, and the strongest among them was a perfect fifth divine core warrior. After that, he convinced Elder Green Lotus with a single move and allowed him to join Battle Soul City. What was even more surprising was that he killed Deacon Bai with a single move. What? Hearing this, everyone were stunned. They weren't familiar with the Long Saber Gang, but they knew Deacon Bai very well. A perfect sixth divine core gold deacon, the same level as the strongest Saint General. But Ling Xiao had killed him with a single move, no matter how they thought about it. It was just too ridiculous. I believe in Sister Green Lotus judgment. Ling Xiao, you can cultivate with me. Why don't we call each other brother and sister instead of master and disciple? Jiang Nan suddenly said, no matter how unbelievable Zhanlong's words were, no matter how hard it was to believe them. But Jiang Nan didn't think he had the guts to lie. Sword Maiden Green Lotus wouldn't recommend anyone to Jiang Nan. If Ling Xiao was a treasure, she would have profited greatly if she could pick him up. Besides, she had a special relationship with Sword Maiden Green Lotus, and she really wanted to help Sword Maiden Green Lotus teach Ling Xiao. Little Jiang Nan, aren't you a little too fast? You only have girls. They're not suitable for a man like Jiang Nan. Why don't you just let Ling Xiao follow me? I'll definitely train him well. Wang Hao's thoughts were simple. Even if Ling Xiao wasn't as outstanding as Zhanlong said, he wasn't too bad either. It wouldn't be a loss for them to take him in. But if Jiang Nan was really a peerless genius, it would be a huge gain for them to take him in. Why are the two mayors so useless? Why do you just listen to whatever Zhanlong says? In my opinion, he's just a piece of trash. A voice suddenly sounded out from the crowd. It was an arrogant voice. Even the two mayor were scolded. The one who spoke was the arrogant little boy from before. He was only 14 years old. No one knew if he was being willful or just ignorant. A man's jealousy was very strong. Although Ling Xiao didn't have any grudges against him, they had just called Ling Xiao a piece of trash, and now Ling Xiao was being fought over by two mayor. It felt like they were being slapped in the face. How could they accept this? Big Brother is right. It's better to test him. The little girl chimed in. Test? How do you want to test him? Zhanlong asked. That's simple. You've been bragging about how amazing he is and how he can even kill Deacon Bai, who is a peak 6 divine core warrior. We won't bully him. Let me, Di Hongxiu, fight him. I'm just an early 5th divine core warrior. If he can't even defeat me, that means what you said before was just a lie. The little girl walked out first and said with a smile on her face, Ling Xiao, what do you think? Zhanlong looked at Ling Xiao and asked, Whatever. She's just an ignorant little girl. Ling Xiao said with an indifferent tone. This Di Hongxiu wasn't weak, although she was only an early 5th divine core warrior. But Ling Xiao could feel that her true combat strength was no weaker than an early 6th divine core warrior. But so what? She was still a piece of trash in front of him. Since this little girl didn't listen to him, he would just spank her. She had to be taught a lesson. Chapter 3982. What do you guys think? Zhanlong turned to the others. Let's do this then. Choosing a disciple is a sacred thing. We can't do it hastily. Although I believe in the comments of the 3 seniors, If he wants us to believe him, he has to show us his true ability and demonstrate it on the spot. Mayor Deing said. His words represented everyone's thoughts. All right, if that's the case, there's an arena in the recruitment hall. Although it's a little small, I don't think it'll be a problem for a one-on-one battle. Zhan Long looked at Ling Xiao and Di Hongxiu. Then he said, please come to the arena. If you fight here, it won't be good if you break something. Ling Xiao and Di Hongxiu walked into the arena. Zhan Long looked at Ling Xiao and said, Brother Ling, please show some mercy. This kid is still young, he doesn't know any better, and he's Mayor Di's disciple. Just defeat him. Of course, Zhan Long was being kind, but in Di Hongxiu's ears, she felt like he was humiliating her. She was so angry that her face flushed red. I don't need him to show mercy. What kind of joke is this? Sacred General Zhan Long, do you really think I'll lose to him? Di Hongxiu said with a loud voice, I'm my master's disciple, and I'm an early 5th rank divine core warrior. You're asking a peak 4th rank divine core warrior to show mercy to me? Are you looking down on me or my master? Kid, why can't you recognize my kindness? I'm not looking down on you. It's just that Ling Xiao is able to easily kill Deacon Bai, who is a peak 6th rank divine core warrior. You're really no match for him. Zhan Long let out a sigh and said, You're talking nonsense again. I don't believe you. Ling Xiao, don't show mercy. Otherwise, it'll be too boring for me to win. Di Hongxiu looked at Ling Xiao and said, If I really don't show mercy, you'll die. Ling Xiao said with an indifferent tone, Damn it, you're really pissing me off. How dare you look down on me? Di Hongxiu was really pissed off. Don't be angry, I'm just telling the truth. Ling Xiao said with a calm expression. Yeah, I'm so angry, so angry. Do you think I'm a country bumpkin from the 4 great countries? The warriors of the Golden Heavenly Nation are not as useless as you think. If you really have the ability to kill me, then do as you wish. After all, Di Hongxiu was just a little girl. She was only 14 years old and had never left War's Seoul, sacred city. Whether it was before or after reincarnating, she was just a flower that bloomed in a greenhouse. Although she was beautiful, there was no way she could pose any threat to Ling Xiao. Hongxiu, don't be led by the nose. You have lost control of your emotions. At this moment, Deing suddenly spoke. Obviously, he couldn't bear to see his little disciple's situation anymore. I'm sorry, Master. I lost my composure. Di Hongxiu suddenly came to a realization. She took a deep breath and looked at Ling Xiao. I won't fall for your trick again. You just want to make me anxious and confused so that you can take the opportunity to deal with me. But now it's no longer that easy. I think you've misunderstood. But never mind, let's do it. Ling Xiao was too lazy to explain. What strategy did he need to use when dealing with an early 5th level divine core warrior? This was ridiculous. Here I come. Di Hongxiu shouted. A short sword suddenly appeared in her hand. The short sword was about 30 centimeters long. It was crystal clear. It looked extremely sharp. Heaven-shattering combat, soul sword. Following her voice, Di Hongxiu turned into a frightening sword beam and shot toward Ling Xiao. The sword beam sliced through the air and produced a strange sound. However, Ling Xiao was still standing there calmly. He was watching everything with an indifferent expression. It was as if he wasn't the one fighting, but someone else. His actions had completely infuriated Di Hongxiu. Initially, Di Hongxiu was still holding back, as she was worried that she might kill Ling Xiao. But right at this moment, the sword beam suddenly grew stronger. A sharp, long sword martial soul appeared behind her back. When a sword martial soul was used together with a sword skill, its power could be unleashed to the maximum. Di Hongxiu's pride wasn't just for show. This little girl was indeed very strong. The weapon in her hand was a quality Heavenly King weapon, a weapon rarely seen even in the 4 superpowers. Her martial skill, heaven-shattering combat soul sword, had reached the peak of 6th Order Emperor realm. She was able to use a sword skill that was above her cultivation level, although she couldn't unleash its full power. but it was still much stronger than a fifth-order Emperor realm martial skill. A girl like Di Hongxiu was a true genius, and she could definitely challenge someone above her cultivation level. If not for the fact that she was still young, she would be even stronger. Everyone turned to look at Ling Xiao. They wanted to know how Ling Xiao was going to defend against the sharp and domineering sword attack. However, Ling Xiao was still standing there. He even closed his eyes, as if he was deep in thought. This scene angered Di Hongxiu and Di Hongyan to the core. He jumped up and shouted, "Hongxiu, beat that bumpkin up for me. He's so annoying. How dare he look down on us? What is he thinking about?" However, no one thought that Ling Xiao would be defeated so easily. But when they saw that Ling Xiao wasn't moving at all, they were puzzled. Facing Di Hongxiu's powerful attack, even a peak 6th Order Divine, Corsair General wouldn't dare act so carelessly. But this guy was so arrogant he didn't care about anything. "Since you're not going to dodge, I'll kill you." She was a little girl, but her heart was very vicious. It could be said that she had no enmity with Ling Xiao. But now she wanted to kill Ling Xiao. This made Ling Xiao feel disgusted. But he had promised Zhanlong that he wouldn't kill this little girl. Therefore, he wouldn't kill her for now. But that might not be the case in the future. "Kill me? Do you have the ability to do so?" Ling Xiao didn't attack. Instead, he suddenly opened his eyes, and 2 sharp sword energies shot out from his eyes. All of a sudden, Di Hongxiu felt a terrifying killing intent coming towards her. Her body was trembling. She was forced to take dozens of steps back, and because she forcefully withdrew her attack, she was injured. Blood trickled down from the corner of her mouth. This scene stunned everyone who saw it. What was going on? Ling Xiao hadn't even attacked, and with just his aura, Di Hongxiu was so scared that she didn't dare attack anymore. Di Hongxiu stood still, her body still trembling. Her face was pale. At that moment, she did see herself being killed by the sword energies. It wasn't an illusion. Her opponent's frightening sword intent had affected her soul, and it was a prediction she had made. "Hongxiu, you trash, let me do it." Seeing this, Di Hongyan immediately became angry. Just as she was about to attack, she saw Di Hongxiu dashing forward like a madwoman. She kept thrusting the short sword in her hand. Each strike was a killing strike, and each strike was extremely vicious. However, Ling Xiao only used a single finger to casually block her attack, appearing relaxed and at ease. All of Di Hongxiu's attacks were neutralized by that single finger. "I say, Mayor Ding, you should tell her to stop, or else I'll be angry," Ling Xiao suddenly said with a cold voice. Chapter 3983. "Hongxiu, back off." Ding furrowed his brows and said. Only then did Di Hongxiu stop attacking. However, her eyes were still filled with unwillingness. "Now you all see it. I've told you, Ling Xiao is a genius, and only the Saint Lord is qualified to take him as a disciple. Even you, Mayor, aren't qualified," Zhanlong said excitedly. Di Hongxiu had always been an arrogant girl, and she didn't even take him seriously. Today, Ling Xiao had helped him vent his anger. All the Saint Generals were envious when they saw Ling Xiao's performance, but that was all they could do. The better Ling Xiao performed, the less likely he would become their disciple. This guy didn't hide his cultivation base. He is a peak 4th Divine Core Warrior. But why is his combat strength so frightening? Is it because of his martial soul? Or is it because of his true yuan? Or is it because of his bloodline? Is it because of his body? Di Ying looked at Ling Xiao with a puzzled expression. Although geniuses could challenge those with a higher cultivation base, he had never seen anyone do it as easily as Ling Xiao did. "Look at how relaxed he is. It's obvious he doesn't plan to attack at all. He's just toying with Di Hongxiu." "That's right. This guy's hidden strength is probably even stronger." It seems that Zhanlong's words are not nonsense. Deacon by might really have been killed by him. No matter if it was the mayor, Saint Generals, or commanders, they were all talking about Ling Xiao. It had been more than 1,000 years since such a powerful disciple had appeared in the Fighting Soul Sacred City. Although Di Hongxiu wasn't the strongest disciple among all the mayor's disciples, she was still a genius. Being able to challenge those with a higher cultivation base was already a genius, who knew that in front of Ling Xiao, it was actually not worth mentioning. "Master, I can't accept this. I haven't even used my full strength," Di Hongxiu shouted. How could she admit defeat? She wasn't an ordinary disciple. She was the mayor's personal disciple. She was defeated so easily this was too shameful. "I'll only say one thing. If you dare to attack again, I won't let you go so easily. Although I won't kill you, I'll make you unable to move for a while." Ling Xiao felt that he had already given this little girl a lot of face. If this woman was still so stubborn, then don't blame him for being impolite. "I admit that you are very strong, so I will deal with you together with my sister. Is that okay?" At this time, Di Hongyan also jumped into the arena. He was unwilling to admit defeat, just like that. Even if it was 2 against 1, he had to get back at them. As long as he could defeat Ling Xiao, it wouldn't matter even if the 2 of them attacked together. "Sure," Ling Xiao said indifferently, "but what I said just now is still effective. This time, I won't be so merciful." "Humph, do you dare to hurt us?" "Our master is one of the city lords of War Soul Sacred City." Di Hongyan snorted coldly. That was exactly what the little guy was thinking. He teamed up with Di Hongxiu, completely ruthless in every move, prepared to take Ling Xiao's life. However, they calculated that Ling Xiao was new here and did not dare to attack them. It was a pity that he had miscalculated. Ling Xiao was really not afraid of Diying. After more than 10 moves, he was already somewhat impatient. Suddenly, both fists suddenly blasted out. There were no tricks, just very direct fists. Di Hongxiu and Di Hongyan resisted with all their might. However, even the fine Heavenly King artifact in their hands was smashed. The 2 of them were directly blasted several hundred meters away by the fist wind. When they fell to the ground, they already could not get up. Although they did not die, they were seriously injured. Just as Ling Xiao said, they had to lie down for a period of time. "You're really stubborn. Can't you see that I've already given in to you? To actually still dare to not know what's good for you?" Ling Xiao withdrew his fist wind and looked coldly at the 2 people in the distance. Standing there, he was full of domineering aura. "Master, avenge us!" Di Hongxiu and Di Hongyan did not seem to feel that they did anything wrong. At this time, they still did not realize their mistake, and instead desperately shouted for Diying to avenge them. Ling Xiao also noticed Diying's gloomy face. However, he did not care. If Diying really wanted to attack, he did not mind using the Sky Tyrant martial spirit and humiliating Diying like his disciples. Of course, if he did not have to use his full strength, he would not rashly use it. After all, hiding the Sky Tyrant martial spirit was very beneficial to him. "Ling Xiao, from today onwards, you are my personal disciple. Jasmine, Rose, quickly take your little junior brother away." Just as Diying was about to attack, Jiangnan suddenly spoke up. She protected Ling Xiao behind her and ordered the 2 female disciples behind her to take Ling Xiao away. "Jiangnan, are you going to protect him? He seriously injured my disciples." Diying was a very protective person. Although his 2 disciples deserved to be beaten, he still wanted to seek justice for his own disciples. "So what if I'm protecting him? This child was recommended by Sister Qinglian. If you dare to hurt him, Sister Qinglian will not forgive you." Jiangnan looked at Diying and said, "And the ones who suggested the battle were your 2 precious disciples." Everyone present saw that Ling Xiao was deliberately going easy on him. It was the 2 of them who did not know what was good for them. They are so young and vicious, and they have no respect for anyone. Your 2 disciples should have been taught a lesson long ago. Jiangnan, it is not up to you to discipline them. Get lost. Otherwise, I will beat you too. Diying was really domineering, or it could be said that he was unreasonable. If you have the ability, then do it. Although you are stronger than me, we have not fought for a long time. It is not certain who will win and who will lose. Jiang Nan seemed determined to protect Ling Xiao. On the other hand, Di Ying was determined to find trouble with Ling Xiao. Wang Hao and Hua Feihua were happy to watch the show. Since it did not concern them, they did not care. Both of you are city lords. It is not appropriate for you to fight here. Do you really think the Holy Lord does not exist? Although Zhan Long's cultivation was not as high as these two, he was still the Holy Lord's disciple. Sometimes he could still use the Holy Lord's name. Hearing the Holy Lord, Di Ying's expression seemed to restrain a little. He suddenly looked at Ling Xiao and said, "They all know my temper very well. You hurt my disciple, so you must pay the price. Today, Jiang Nan can protect you, but can you stay behind her forever? I will give you a chance. Become my disciple and I will spare your life. I will also raise you as my most valued disciple." Hearing this, Jiang Nan's expression changed. This condition was really too tempting, whether she admitted it or not. Di Ying was the strongest of the four of them. If she chose Di Ying as her master, not only could she avoid danger, she could also choose the strongest master. Why wouldn't he do it? In her opinion, Ling Xiao would definitely make this choice. The others thought so too, because normal people would not continue to provoke Di Ying at this time. Unfortunately, they were all wrong. Ling Xiao hated being threatened the most. Be your disciple? You are not worthy. Chapter 3984. Ling Xiao looked at Di Ying and said disdainfully, "You want me to be your disciple? You're not worthy." There was an uproar when he said that. Di Ying's anger reached its peak. "Good boy, you don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. You're courting death. Even if you become Jiang Nan's disciple, I can guarantee that you won't live for more than a month." Di Ying looked at Ling Xiao ferociously. "I'm still alive. You, on the other hand, don't seem to have much time left." Ling Xiao mocked. "You're courting death." Di Ying finally made a move. Ling Xiao was too good at provoking. If he did not make a move, he would not be able to hold it in anymore. However, before he could reach Ling Xiao, he was stopped by Jiang Nan. The two of them exchanged palms. They both retreated 2 or 3 steps. It looked like they were evenly matched, but only Jiang Nan knew that she was injured. Di Ying, on the other hand, had no problems. This was the feeling of a martial artist. "Humph, Jiang Nan, I'll give you some face today, and let this brat off this time. But you have to watch him carefully from now on. He might die in Fighting Soul Sacred City one day." Di Ying was very arrogant. He said that he wanted to kill a disciple. That was because he was not afraid of others knowing. No one could stop him. He was the disciple and son of the Holy Lord of Fighting Soul Sacred City. Even if he killed someone, the Holy Lord would not do anything to him. With that, he turned around and left. The reason why he left was because Jiang Nan had stopped him. He was stronger than Jiang Nan, but to defeat Jiang Nan and kill Ling Xiao would consume too much energy. It was not worth it. "Thank you, City Lord Jiang." Regardless of whether Jiang Nan needed to make a move, objectively speaking, she had helped him. He was a person who cared about small favors. Before Jiang Nan could speak, she suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. His face turned deathly pale. Di Ying is indeed terrifying. She smiled bitterly. "Jiang Nan, you know that Di Ying is powerful, but you still dare to snatch the disciple he wants. I think you're getting more and more foolish." Hua Feihua mocked. "I don't need you to care about me." Jiang Nan glanced at Hua Feihua and said, "He is indeed strong, but Ling Xiao is already my disciple. I will not let him suffer." "Ling Xiao, I have 10 disciples, all of whom are girls. You're the only man. In the future, remember to protect your senior sisters well. Girls will always be looked down upon and despised by others. Understood?" Ling Xiao didn't intend to become Jiang Nan's disciple, but Jiang Nan was so kind to him. In addition, the sacred leader had yet to appear, so he agreed for the time being. In any case, as long as he performed well, the sacred lord could still choose him. This was the power of the sacred lord. Humph, Jiangnan, oh Jiangnan, you think you've received a treasure, but you don't know that it's a hot potato. I'd like to see what kind of good outcome you can have. Let's go. Hua Fei Hua snorted and left as well. She had been contradicted by Ling Xiao before, so she didn't have a good impression of Ling Xiao. She couldn't wait to see Ling Xiao get into trouble. Jiangnan, be careful in the future. Di Ying is a man of his words. Wang Hao reminded her as he left. He was kind-hearted. You guys can leave as well. You can choose any of these people. If you don't like them, let them be ordinary disciples for now. There will be opportunities in the future anyway. Zhan Long waved at the commanders and Saint Generals. Everyone knew that the atmosphere was a little tense, so they didn't stay and left. Soon, only Jiangnan, Ling Xiao, Zhanlong, and the two disciples that Jiangnan had brought, Jiangnan and Jiangnan, were left in the recruitment hall. These two girls were orphans and had no names, so Jiangnan gave them their own surnames. Their full names were Jiang Moli and Jiang Rose. Because surnames didn't sound good, everyone liked to call them by their names. Brotherling, you offended Diying as soon as you came to Fighting Soul Sacred City. It's my fault for not telling you that the sacred leader of Fighting Soul Sacred City is Di Ying's father. His name is Di Tuatian, Zhan Long said with a sigh. What, Di Tuatian? Ling Xiao was shocked when he heard this name. He could feel that his divine demon sword soul was shaking because of it. This Di Tuatian was Jian Qin and Chu Ling's enemy. He was the enemy of the two seniors who had given him the divine demon sword soul in the immemorial divine tomb. At that time, Jian Qin and Chu Ling had hoped that he could avenge them, and the enemy's name was Di Tuatian. However, the information about Di Tuatian that Jian Qin had given him was different from the information about the sacred leader of Fighting Soul Sacred City. But this name was very special, and the divine demon sword soul had reacted. This meant that it was this person, sacred leader, the person that the two seniors had offended, wasn't someone to be trifled with. If he wanted to avenge them, he couldn't defeat the sacred leader with his current strength. And he didn't know what kind of person the sacred leader was. He had said that unless Di Tuatian deserved to be killed, he wouldn't do anything. Jian Qin and Chu Ling had also agreed. So at this stage, it was better to investigate the sacred leader's situation. He couldn't kill him anyway, so he wasn't in a hurry to avenge him. You know the sacred leader? Zhan Long asked in confusion when he saw Ling Xiao's shocked expression. It should be just the same name. Ling Xiao shook his head and said, The Di Tuatian, I know, can't be the sacred leader. I see. No matter what, I'll put in a good word for you in front of the sacred leader. As long as you become the sacred leader's disciple, even Di Ying won't dare to provoke you. Zhan Long looked at Ling Xiao and said, With City Lord Jiangnan protecting you, I can rest assured. If you need any help in the future, just ask. I promised Elder Blue Lotus to take care of you, so I can't go back on my words. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. There are still some things I need to report to the sacred leader. Sacred General Zhanlong, go ahead. I'll take care of my own matters. Ling Xiao cupped his hands. Zhanlong left. Ling Xiao hurriedly took out a healing pill and gave it to Jiangnan. City Lord Jiang, take this healing pill. It's more effective than the pills of your Fighting Soul Sacred City. Jiangnan was stunned for a moment, but seeing Ling Xiao's confident look, she finally swallowed the pill. A moment later, the injuries from the battle with Di Ying were healed. This was really strange. She was greatly surprised. It seems that I underestimated you. Di Ying also underestimated you. Jiangnan looked at Ling Xiao and seemed to understand why the three seniors chose Ling Xiao. This young man's future achievements would definitely be extraordinary. Let's go to my Jiangnan palace. Jiangnan smiled and left the recruitment hall. Jasmine and Rose accompanied Ling Xiao on his left and right. Junior brother, if there's anything you don't understand, feel free to ask us. Our Jiangnan palace hasn't had a male disciple for a long time. Master even said that we don't need those stinky men, but this time he made an exception and accepted you. It's obvious that he thinks highly of you. Chapter 3985. Jiangnan Palace was Jiang Nan's residence. The scenery here was beautiful, just like the scenery of the southern kingdom. It was completely different from the scenery of the western region, and it was very pleasing to the eye. Of course, Ling Xiao didn't come here to enjoy the scenery. He just wanted to use this fighting soul-sacred city as a springboard to enter the Golden City. The strongest person here should be at the level of the strongest person in the 4 great countries. Although the overall strength was slightly stronger than the 4 great countries, the difference wasn't too big. The reason why the warriors dreamed of coming here was because of the City of Gold. That was the true sacred ground of the Golden Sky region. If one didn't come to the 3,000 sacred cities, they wouldn't be able to reach the Golden City. Ling Xiao still had his own plans in his heart. His thoughts were also very clear. He was temporarily under Jiang Nan's name and wasn't considered a real disciple. He just got a legal identity. He would also abide by the 3,000 sacred cities rules. Of course, the prerequisite was that others also abide by it. Otherwise, don't blame him for not following the rules. Jiang Nan had a total of 10 disciples. Including him, it would be 11. When he arrived at Jiangnan Palace with Jiang Nan, there were already 7 disciples waiting there. Including Jasmine and Rose, it would be 9. There was still one person who didn't show up. He was probably cultivating. He didn't really care about this. Whether they welcomed him or not, he was just a passerby. Master. When the 7 disciples saw Jiang Nan return, they hurriedly greeted her. When they saw Ling Xiao, they were a little surprised. Their master had never accepted a male disciple. This time it was an exception. Could it be that this kid was actually a shocking genius? Although they stayed here, they had heard about what was going on outside. Because of this disciple, their master had even fought with City, Lord Ding. This child will be your little junior brother in the future. Please take care of him. I still have some things to deal with, so I'll take my leave first. Jiang Nan knew Ding's character, so there were some things that she had to prepare in advance. Otherwise, once something happened, it would be too late to regret. Hello, I'm Bai Lian, your senior sister. If there's anything in the future, just tell me. If I can help you, I'll definitely help you. This woman, called White Lotus, was beautiful and intelligent. She couldn't be considered beautiful, but she was definitely a good wife. She believed that the person who married her would definitely be happy. Greetings, senior sisters. My name is Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao introduced himself. The girls of the Jiangnan Palace Hall seemed to have a good relationship with each other, as if they were sisters. Instead, it made him feel more relaxed. Jiang Nan's disciples were actually quite strong, but in his eyes, it seemed a little inferior. Aside from senior disciple sister Bai Lian, who was at the early 5th level of the Divine Core Realm, the rest of them were only at the early 4th level of the Divine Core Realm. However, they were all quite young. The eldest senior sister, Bai Lian, was only about the same age as Ling Xiao. The rest of them were between the ages of 14 and 16. He could definitely be considered a genius. Where's junior sister? Jasmine suddenly asked. Bai Lian smiled bitterly. It's not like you don't know that junior sister is a cultivation maniac. He's probably heading to the War Spirit Valley again. War Spirit Valley? What's that place? Ling Xiao wasn't interested in junior sister, but he was very interested in this cultivation place. Do you want to take a look? Bai Lian asked with a smile. Of course. Ling Xiao nodded his head. All right, I'll bring you to the War Spirit Valley. You guys can cultivate on your own. Bai Lian smiled. She had a good impression of Ling Xiao, who was very polite. Besides, he was the only boy in the Jiangnan Palace, and he was like a treasure to her. Since she had some power in her hands, she naturally wanted to make use of it. Let's go as well. Master told us to protect junior brother. Jasmine and Rose came over as well. I really don't know what to do with you guys. Let's go. Bai Lian sighed. Then the 3 beauties brought Ling Xiao to the War Spirit Valley while chatting. Along the way, Ling Xiao learned a lot about the War Soul Sacred City from them, especially the War Spirit Valley. It was a small world that was specially used for cultivation. It was a deep valley, and the deeper one went, the more dangerous it was, but the better the cultivation effect. All the disciples of the War Soul Sacred City were qualified to enter and cultivate. Moreover, the cultivation resources obtained inside could be used by themselves and didn't need to be handed over. To enter the War Spirit Valley to cultivate, most people need to pay spirit stones or complete a task assigned by the War Spirit Valley. And after entering, you can only stay for about 10 days or so. Only the disciples of the City Lord and Holy Lord are exceptions. You can enter for free, and there are no restrictions. You can stay as long as you want. Perhaps this is the privilege of the City Lord and Holy Lord's disciples. For this, Ling Xiao was quite satisfied. Sometimes power and status can really bring a warrior a lot of convenience. I don't know if I will meet Junior's sister Hinajiku, although Hinajiku is our junior sister, but in terms of strength, she is the strongest existence in the Jiangnan Palace. Even in the entire War Soul Sacred City, she is definitely in the top 5, and her aptitude is very good. She is also very good to people. She only knows how to cultivate very crazily. Perhaps this has something to do with her family background. Her family was killed, and in order to take revenge, she is almost desperate to cultivate. White Lotus looked at the War Spirit Valley in the distance and sighed. Obviously, he felt pity for his junior sister, Hinajika's fate. Ling Xiao wasn't thinking about this. He was thinking about Hinajika's strength. To be able to reach the top 5 of the War Soul Sacred City, she shouldn't be too bad, but definitely not better than the City Lord. In this War Soul Sacred City, the only person he was afraid of was the Holy Lord. The rest of the people he didn't care about. Even if the odds of winning against the City Lord were not high. But his cultivation is increasing very quickly. As long as his cultivation breaks through again, even the City Lord won't be in his eyes. If the War Soul Sacred City is like this, then the 3,000 sacred cities should be similar. Among the disciples of the 3,000 sacred cities, his ranking is definitely high. Soon, the 4 arrived at the War Spirit Valley. The entrance to the War Spirit Valley was a portal, similar to the portal in the bloodthirsty battlefield. It was also guarded by people. A training hall was built specifically for registration and inspection. Ling Xiao's arrival caused a stir. Many people already knew about what happened in the recruitment hall. When the disciples saw Ling Xiao, they were full of admiration and fear. They admired Ling Xiao for daring to go against City Lord Diying and easily injuring Di Hongxiu and Di Hongyan. They were afraid because Ling Xiao offended the vengeful City Lord Diying, and they were afraid that it would be troublesome. They didn't dare to have too much contact with Ling Xiao, afraid that they would be implicated. Ling Xiao was too lazy to care about these people. Chapter 3986. This aura was stronger than any of the sacred grounds that Ling Xiao had been to before. It seemed that this Fighting Soul Sacred City was not without its merits. At the very least, this Fighting Soul Valley could be used as a key place for him to break through. I want to go in and take a look. Is that okay? Ling Xiao asked Bai Lian. Of course. You are now a disciple of our Jiangnan Palace. If you want to go in, you just have to register. Bai Lian nodded. All right, I will go in and take a look. I will have to trouble Senior, Sister, to wait outside. Ling Xiao was very interested in this Fighting Soul Valley. Instead of waiting outside, he might as well go in and cultivate. According to Bai Lian and the others, the environment of the Fighting Soul Valley was very complicated. Even if the City Lord went in, he would not be able to find a person in a short time. The most important thing was that the divine sense in the Fighting Soul Valley was severely suppressed. It was difficult to find someone with soul power. This was because of the special structure of the Fighting Soul Valley. Just as he was about to step into the Fighting Soul Valley, a handsome man holding a sword suddenly walked over. Junior Sister Jasmine, I didn't expect that we would be fated to meet here. Can we go to the pavilion over there for a chat? The handsome man looked gentle and refined. He was not old, just in his early 20s. His strength was not bad, at least much stronger than Jasmine. He should be about the same as Bai Lian. Seeing this handsome man, Jasmine's pretty face immediately turned red. "Senior Brother Jean, I am busy." Jasmine lowered her head. It was obvious that Jasmine had feelings for this handsome man. Otherwise, she would not be so shy. "Silly. Junior brother has us to protect him. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You have to grab it." Bai Lian said with a smile. Jasmine was usually shy. It was rare for someone to like her. If she did not grab it and missed it, it would be a pity. Moreover, this handsome man had a good reputation in Fighting Soul Sacred City. Not only was he handsome, but his character was also first class. Therefore, Bai Lian advised Jasmine to bravely pursue her true love. Then I am sorry, junior brother. I will go and chat with senior brother Jean for a while. It is at the pavilion over there." Jasmine said shyly. Ling Xiao nodded. He couldn't stop others from pursuing happiness, although he felt that this senior brother Jean was a little pretentious. However, he was new here after all, so it was inappropriate for him to say much. The people here should know senior brother Jean better than he did. "Everyone, please get back to your work." Senior brother Jean cupped his hands at the crowd. He was indeed very humble and courteous. Maybe I was wrong. Ling Xiao shook his head, but there was a lingering worry in his heart that he could not get rid of. "Rose, stay here and watch. I'm worried about senior sister Jasmine being alone." In the end, he still spoke. "Worried? Could it be that you're afraid that senior brother Jean will eat Jasmine?" Rose smiled. "I hope my worries are unnecessary. Take this talisman as well. If anything happens, just crush it. I'll be there soon." Ling Xiao did not explain. It was better to be safe than sorry, since Jasmine was already his senior sister, even if it was only temporary. He didn't want this shy girl to get into any trouble. "All right, I got it. Let senior sister Bai Lian bring you to the Valley of Fighting Souls," Rose said with a smile. She could feel Ling Xiao's good intentions. Although she felt his worries were unnecessary, she was still grateful that Ling Xiao cared about this senior sister he had just met. "We're going to enter the Valley of Fighting Souls." Bai Lian brought Ling Xiao to the registration area. The person in charge of the registration was a commander. He was a peak 5th Divine Core Warrior, and he wasn't weak. He raised his head and looked at Bai Lian. Then he turned to Ling Xiao and said, "You can go in, but this guy can't." "Why?" Bai Lian furrowed her brows and asked. "No reason. He can't go in because he can't. I'm in charge of the registration, and my words are the rules," the commander said with an indifferent tone. He didn't give Bai Lian any face. This caused Bai Lian to feel slightly embarrassed. However, with Bai Lian's strength, she was no match for this commander. She could only look at Ling Xiao helplessly. "Is this Di Ying's order?" Ling Xiao asked with an indifferent tone. "Bastard, who do you think you are? How dare you call the mayor by his name?" The commander was furious. He slammed the table and stood up. His action immediately attracted the attention of many people. That newcomer is being bullied. Offending Mayor Di Ying won't end well for him. Not being able to enter the Valley of Fighting Souls is already a light punishment. I'm afraid he might even lose his life. Sai, what's wrong with swallowing his pride? A newcomer should know how to be a coward. Everyone were discussing amongst themselves. Obviously, they weren't optimistic about Ling Xiao's future. Ling Xiao suddenly smiled, then he turned to Bai Lian and said, "Senior sister Bai Lian, this commander didn't follow the rules. He even insulted the mayor's disciple. What is the punishment for that?" The mayor's disciple is an honorable person. A mere commander dared to talk back. He deserves a beating. He didn't follow the rules of Fighting Soul Sacred City. He ruined the image of Fighting Soul Sacred City. He deserves death. Bai Lian didn't know why Ling Xiao was asking these questions, but she still answered. When the commander heard this, he couldn't help but laugh. "So what if Daddy insulted you? Stinking brat, you're just an unlucky guy." Do you really think you're the mayor's disciple? I don't even know if you can live past today. I don't know if I can live past today, but you definitely can't. Ling Xiao stared at the commander and said with an indifferent tone, being stared at by Jiang Qin. The commander's face instantly turned pale with fright, and he quickly took a few steps back. Trash, register yourself right now. If not, there will be another dead body here today. Ling Xiao said with an indifferent tone, You're just a peak 5th Divine Core Warrior. I even killed Deacon Bai, who is a peak 6th Divine Core Warrior. Who do you think you are? You think you can kill me? The commander regained his senses, and he felt a little embarrassed. He was actually scared by a little kid. If this were to spread out, he would lose a lot of face. He had to earn back some of his face. When he thought of this, he suddenly struck out with his fist and punched towards Ling Xiao's head. He didn't show any mercy. It was obvious. He thought Jiang Chen had Diying support, and that was why he was acting so recklessly. Just as Ling Xiao was about to strike, the commander was suddenly knocked away by a punch. A figure appeared in front of Ling Xiao. It was Sacred General Zhanlong. I was worried when I heard you came to the Battle Soul Valley, but I didn't expect there to be such a blind trash here. Zhanlong looked at Ling Xiao. Then he let out a long sigh and said, If I've caused you to have a bad impression of the Battle Soul Sacred City, I apologize. After saying that, he walked up to the commander, grabbed his neck, and lifted him up into the air. With a stern voice, he said in front of everyone, Everyone listen up! Don't think you can break the rules of the Battle Soul Sacred City just because you have someone supporting you. If you dare to break the rules, you'll have to pay the price. He is your role model. As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly threw the commander to the ground. Chapter 3987. Ling Xiao really appreciated John Long's domineering attitude. Actually, he didn't have a close relationship with this man, but this man was willing to kill that commander for him. Jiang Chen would remember this kindness in his heart. Hurry up and register him. Zhanlong said to the guards in the Valley of Fighting Souls. No one dared to delay any longer. A commander hurried over and registered Ling Xiao and Bai Lian. Then he asked them to proceed to the Valley of Fighting Souls. Big brother Zhanlong, thank you so much. Ling Xiao didn't. Close? How could he be so shameless? How could he be so shameless? If he spoke too much, he would seem hypocritical. No need to thank me. I should be the one apologizing for this. Zhanlong waved his hand and said, Hurry up and go in. Ling Xiao nodded his head. Then he followed Bai Lian into the Valley of Fighting Souls. The terrain of the Valley of Fighting Souls was very complicated. It was like a maze. Using teleportation portals, the valley was divided into many areas, and the deeper one went, the more dangerous it was. Of course, the more opportunities there were. Each area was connected by a teleportation portal, but these portals weren't normally open. Only after completing the mission in the previous area could one enter the next area. To put it bluntly, there are two ways to cultivate in the Valley of Fighting Souls. One is to fight, and the other is to cultivate in seclusion. Bai Lian explained, Only after you've killed all the monsters in this area will you be able to find a place to cultivate and a teleportation portal. You can choose to enter the next area, or you can choose to cultivate in seclusion. That's simple. Ling Xiao nodded his head. He looked in front of him and saw a group of monsters charging towards them. However, these monsters weren't real. They looked more like demonic beasts created by some kind of formation. The monsters in the first area were all at least at the first or second divine core realm. Of course, this wasn't a problem for Ling Xiao. He followed Bai Lian's instructions and killed all the monsters. Sure enough, he found a secret cultivation room. There was also a teleportation portal that led to the next area. But Ling Xiao didn't step into it, because right at this moment, Rose's voice sounded out. Junior disciple brother, senior sister disciple, Jasmine is in danger. Hearing this, Ling Xiao furrowed his brows. He knew his premonition was right. Go. He could come back to the War Soul Valley in the future, but there was only one Jasmine. He would definitely not let Jasmine be in danger. When he arrived outside, he did not see Rose. However, Ling Xiao's taiji caught her in a relatively remote place about 5 kilometers away. A battle was breaking out. For some unknown reason, Jasmine's current condition was extremely bad. It was obvious that she was heavily injured. Moreover, he seemed to be in a daze, as if he had been poisoned. Rose was frantically protecting her, but her strength was limited and the situation was critical. Boom! A terrifying aura was released from Ling Xiao's body. He dashed away like a ferocious beast. Along the way, there were many people who were rushing in that direction, but they were directly blown away. The floor was a mess. Some people were cursing, but they didn't dare to raise their voices. Ling Xiao's current aura was simply too terrifying. They were afraid that if their mouths touched Ling Xiao, they wouldn't even be able to keep their lives. Monster! Someone muttered to himself. Isn't he that Ling Xiao? Let's go and take a look. The one who attacked is Chen Hao from the Divine Eagle Hall. He is ranked 3rd in the Divine Eagle Hall. He is stronger than Di Hongxiu and Di Hongyan. Today, we can see if Chen Hao or Ling Xiao is stronger. At this moment, Zhan Long had already left. Otherwise, this wouldn't have happened. A few sisters from the Jiangnan Hall had already rushed over one after another. Their junior sister was being bullied, so they definitely had to come and help. Senior sister, who was that just passed by. It's so scary. They also saw a gust of wind pass by, but they didn't see who it was. Junior brother. Bai Lian replied, Let's not talk about it anymore. Let's hurry over. Junior brother is rather impulsive. Be careful, he might be at a disadvantage. Ling Xiao only had one thought in his mind, and that was to save Jasmine and Rose's lives. It was said that killing was not allowed in the War Soul sacred city. However, the scene in front of him made Ling Xiao feel that such rules were nonsense. Jasmine was drugged and was in a terrible state. She was in a daze and felt that the drug was too strong. The girl's life force was rapidly draining away. Furthermore, her face had been disfigured by something. Her originally pretty face had now become extremely frightening. In order to protect Jasmine, Rose was beaten up by Chun Hao. Her legs were cut off by a sharp blade. Her arms were also bloody. However, she still persisted. Chun Hao was still unwilling to stop. It was as if he would only stop when the 2 girls were tortured to death. Beside Chun Hao, the handsome man with the surname Zhang was sitting there drinking tea with a cold expression. There were 2 beauties beside him as his companions. What a stupid woman! Refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. This young master is giving you face by playing with you. You really think that because you are from the Jiangnan Hall, this young master won't dare to touch you? Your master Jiang, an offended city, Lord Diying, and has already been locked up in the Cliff of Reflection by the Holy Master. Let's see who can support you. The handsome man with the surname Zhang had an abnormally sinister expression. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with a terrifying killing intent. It seemed that he had implicated the people of the Jiangnan Hall. Today's matter, he had to take care of it even more. Whether it was Jasmine or Rose, they were both so pretty before. But now, one was disfigured and unconscious, while the other was heavily injured and unable to get up. The instigators of all this were probably the Zhang guy and this Chen Hao. They were currently immensely pleased with themselves. Seeing this, Ling Xiao's expression became very ugly, just as Chen Hao was preparing to continue humiliating Rose. Ling Xiao finally arrived. A cold aura was released from his body. He directly appeared in front of Chen Hao and blocked the sharp blade in Chen Hao's hand. Moreover, he sent Chen Hao flying with a punch. Chen Hao did not even have time to react. The speed of the person who came was too fast. He wanted to block, but the power of the punch was too strong. Just one punch was enough to make him dizzy. He almost fainted. Who? Chen Hao crawled up in fear and asked. His previous complacency was completely gone. At this moment, he only had anger and fear. As for the Zhang guy, his expression was somewhat strange. He was still sitting there with a calm face, coldly looking at Ling Xiao. It was as if all of this was within his expectations. Ling Xiao did not care about Chen Hao's question. Instead, he looked at Jasmine and Rose. He hurriedly took out 2 healing pills and stuffed them into their mouths. Sorry, I'm late. He blamed himself. He had already sensed that something was wrong, but he did not pay enough attention to it. Little junior brother, quickly run. They want to deal with you. Rose saw Ling Xiao and hurriedly grabbed Ling Xiao's hand and said, Chapter 3988. Rose's wounds were hard. Even if her legs were cut off, she could still recover. After all, she was a divine core warrior. But Jasmine's condition was more troublesome. Not only was she poisoned, her face was also disfigured, and it would be difficult for her to recover. But who was he? He was Ling Xiao. In this world, besides his master, Yuan Venerate, no one could concoct better pills than him. Rose's wounds were starting to heal. Ling Xiao's other hand pressed down on Jasmine's hand and sucked the poison out of Jasmine's body. It was a terrifying hallucinogenic drug, and it could cause people to hallucinate. If it wasn't for Rose's timely discovery, Jasmine's face wouldn't be as simple as being disfigured. She might even lose her virginity. Junior disciple, be careful! Bai Lian's anxious shout suddenly came from afar. The surrounding people cried out in shock as well. It was Chen Hao. While Ling Xiao was healing Jasmine and Rose's wounds, he had sneakily attacked Ling Xiao from behind. He thrust his blade toward Ling Xiao's back. Ling Xiao didn't move. He didn't do anything. I'm going to kill you. Chen Hao was going to kill Jiang Qin because this was a mission given to him by his master. Crack! But, to his surprise, the premium Heavenly King weapon in his hand stabbed into Ling Xiao. The weapon was instantly broken. His attack didn't leave a single scratch on Ling Xiao's body. Ling Xiao didn't even turn around to look at him. Senior disciple Chen, run. This guy killed Deacon Bai, who was a peak 6th heavenly core warrior. Seeing this scene, the crowd began to cry out. They wanted Chen Hao to run away. But Chen Hao was the 3rd disciple of the Divine Hawk Palace, and his master was Diying. Why would he run away? His pride wouldn't allow him to run away. Besides, he didn't believe that Ling Xiao could really kill a peak 6th heavenly core warrior. What a joke! Why would I run away when facing a wild dog? Chen Hao crazily circulated his true energy, preparing for his second attack. Right at this moment, Bai Lian and the others had arrived. Chen Hao, what are you doing? Bai Lian angrily scolded. We're both disciples of the War Soul Sacred City. Aren't you afraid that the Saint Lord will blame you for your actions? Holy Master, the Sacred Lord is City, Lord Di's father. Do you think he will favor you? Chen Hao said disdainfully. Today I must kill this brat. If you dare to stop me, I will kill all of you as well. Chen Hao's expression was a little crazy. Who dares to attack a disciple of Jiangnan Palace? Ling Xiao was currently treating Jasmine and Rose's injuries, so he couldn't do anything at the moment. Bai Lian and the others were definitely no match for Chen Hao. Just as he was hesitating, a white figure rushed over from the direction of the War Spirit Valley. Before the person arrived, the sword had already arrived. Chen Hao was forced to retreat. Junior sister, Hinajiku, you're here. Jiangnan Palace's martial artists were pleasantly surprised when they saw the newcomer. Little junior sister Hinajiku is the strongest in Jiangnan Temple. With her around, there was nothing to be afraid of. When Ling Xiao heard this, he heaved a sigh of relief and began to focus on healing the 2 women. Little junior sister, you must avenge Jasmine and Rose. This Chen Hao has gone too far. Jiangnan Palace's disciples were filled with righteous indignation, especially when they saw Jasmine and Rose's miserable state. No matter who it was, they couldn't bear this kind of anger. I've gone too far. We were just playing with Jasmine. Who would have thought that crazy woman called Rose would come and attack me? How could I not fight back? She can only blame herself for being too useless. Too trashy. Chen Hao didn't feel that he did anything wrong. Damn it. I'll kill you. One of Jiangnan Palace's female disciples rushed out. Her relationship with Jasmine and Rose was very good. She was already angry, but the other party still dared to say such words. She was definitely angry. Stop. With me and little junior sister here. None of you are allowed to be impulsive. Bai Lian stopped her. One had to say this Bai Lian was really made to be a senior sister. In this kind of situation, it's rare for her to be able to remain calm. Since the other party dared to attack here, they were obviously well prepared. They weren't afraid of you looking for trouble. And in Jiangnan Palace, other than little junior sister Hinajiku, no one else could be Chen Hao's opponent. Not to mention Zhang Ruofeng's opponent. Zhang Ruofeng was that handsome man. Rumor had it that his character and talent were top-notch. He was the direct disciple of the Lord. His position was higher than the Lord's disciple. His appearance here today was obviously the real culprit. Chen Hao was just a hired thug. Once a fight broke out and Zhang Ruofeng attacked, they would all be wiped out. Little junior sister Hinajika looked at Chen Hao coldly and said, Chen Hao, are you trying to start a war with Jiangnan Palace? Do you really think there's no one in Jiangnan Palace? Her eyes were cold and murderous, although she wasn't very good at expressing her feelings. But in her heart, the 9 sisters of Jiangnan Palace were closer than her own sisters. She was very angry that they met with misfortune. Maybe she would really ignore the sect rules and kill Chen Hao here. Chen Hao looked at Hinajiku with contempt and said, Jiangnan Palace, only you can accept it. Why don't you join my Eagle Palace? I promise you will never be bullied like this again. As for the sect rules, are you stupid? I'm just defending myself. Even if this goes to the Lord, I'll just face the wall for a few days. As for you guys, I'm afraid you won't have a good time. His words only meant one thing when translated. So what if I'm breaking the sect rules? What can you do to me? Such an arrogant attitude made Hinajiku clench her fist. Eagle Palace? I really don't like it, especially with trash like you there. What did you say? Chen Hao was furious. But Zhang Ruofeng suddenly said, Hinajiku, the Lord said that your talent is outstanding. It's a pity to stay in Jiangnan Palace. So he wants to take you as a direct disciple. You don't have to care about the trash in Jiangnan Palace. You think without permission from above, we would dare to touch Jiangnan Palace's people? No matter how stupid you are, you should think about it. What? Hearing this, everyone in Jiangnan Palace was in despair. From Zhang Ruofeng's words, it seemed that the higher-ups were turning a blind eye to the plan to destroy Jiangnan Palace. They didn't care at all. Even if they were all killed, no one would sympathize with them. And the Lord wanted to take Hinajiku as a disciple. Such a good thing. Would Hinajiku refuse? The Lord really wants to take me as a disciple? Hinajiku was obviously tempted. Jiangnan Palace was important to her. But if she wanted revenge, she must become stronger. If she could become the Lord's disciple, there would be hope for revenge. Do you think I'm lying? This is the Lord's invitation for you. Zhang Ruofeng waved his hand, and a beautiful invitation landed in Hinajika's hand. Inside is a disciple token that was customized for you. As long as you promise not to interfere in today's matter, you will be the Lord's disciple. Don't worry, I won't make you do anything difficult. After all, I can understand your relationship with Jiangnan Palace. Chapter 3989. I'm sorry, senior sister, but I still want revenge. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Facing Zhang Ruofeng's temptation, Hinajiku was tempted. Becoming the Lord's disciple was like turning a chicken into a phoenix in War Soul Sacred City. Compared to being the Lord's disciple, it was much better. Hinajiku. Seeing Hinajiku holding the invitation and walking to Zhang Ruofeng's side, Bai Lian felt a deep sense of despair and disappointment. They were really good to Hinajiku. When Hinajiku first came here, she didn't know anything. They taught her hand in hand with Master Jiang Nan. That's how she got to where she is today. If it was any other day, there was nothing wrong with Hinajiku choosing to become the Lord's disciple, and they would support it. But it had to be today. At this special time, Hinajiku chose to betray them. How could they not be disappointed? At this time, Ling Xiao stood up. The treatment was over. Rose only needed to rest for a while to recover. Jasmine's disfigurement required a special herb. Ling Xiao planned to look for it in the future. Since Jiang Nan was here, he should be able to find it. Bai Lian, take care of them. He looked at Hinajiku. Too bad. I thought you were a righteous girl. I didn't expect you to make such a choice. It's really disappointing. For revenge, you've lost your humanity. You even abandoned your senior sister and master who loved you the most. You really hurt your loved ones and hate your enemies. Shut up. What do you know? If you had this opportunity, would you refuse? Hinajiku shouted. Maybe at other times I wouldn't refuse. But when something like today happened, of course I would refuse. Ling Xiao coldly said. Ling Xiao, here's an invitation for you. Like Hinajiku's, the Lord invited you to become his disciple. He also said that your talent is better than Hinajiku's. You have a chance to become the #1 in Warsoul Sacred City. Once you become the Lord's disciple, you'll get 100 times better resources than now. If you refuse, you know what the consequences will be. Zhang Ruofeng sneered and threw the invitation to Ling Xiao. Seeing this, Bai Lian and the others trembled. Sometimes, when the temptation was too great, one really couldn't resist it. If they were given such an opportunity, they probably wouldn't reject it either. Ling Xiao, you just joined Jiangnan Palace, so you don't owe us anything. You saved Rose and Jasmine. He had already repaid his master's kindness. If you accept the sacred Lord's invitation, we won't say anything. Bai Lian sighed. Even someone like Hinajiku couldn't resist the temptation. They didn't expect Ling Xiao to do it. After all, Ling Xiao's relationship with them wasn't as deep as Hinajiku's. The onlookers had the same thought. This brat is really lucky. He actually managed to gain the favor of the Holy Master. Unless he's an idiot, I don't think he would refuse. What do you mean by probably? I definitely won't refuse. Zhang Ruofeng looked at Ling Xiao with a faint smile, waiting for Ling Xiao's answer. Don't feel embarrassed, no one will blame you. After all, it was human nature to choose to accept. Everyone here will make the same choice. Senior Brother Zhang, do you really want this fellow to become the Holy Master's disciple? What about me? Chun Hao panicked. He also felt that Ling Xiao would definitely accept the invitation. Don't worry. As the Holy Master's disciple, he will be taught by the Holy Master. Nothing will happen to you. With me here today, no one will be able to hurt you. Zhang Ruofeng's words set Chun Hao's mind at ease. Thank you, Senior Brother Zhang. Chun Hao breathed a sigh of relief, then looked at Ling Xiao, waiting for Ling Xiao's decision. As the Holy Master's disciple, I can't interfere with today's matter? Ling Xiao looked at Zhang Ruofeng and asked. That's right. If you accept the Holy Master's invitation, you will be the Holy Master's disciple. The Holy Master is very strict with his disciples. He will never allow such a thing to happen. Zhang Ruofeng said coldly. Then my answer is, Ling Xiao didn't finish his sentence. However, he burned the invitation in front of everyone. Crazy! This scene shocked everyone until they were dumbstruck. This lunatic actually rejected the Holy Master's invitation. This not only meant that he had wasted a great opportunity to rise up, but he might also offend the Holy Master. I'm not some ungrateful villain. Ling Xiao looked at Hinajiku, revealing a sarcastic smile. Junior brother. Bai Lian was so excited that she was about to cry. The other disciples of Jiangnan Palace were also very excited, although they had no reason to stop Ling Xiao. But Ling Xiao made such a choice. They were still very happy. A drop of water's grace, I will repay it with a spring. I, Ling Xiao, may not be a great person, but I still know the word shame. Ling Xiao looked at Chun Hao and Zhang Ruofeng coldly and said, Today, you will pay a heavy price. You refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. You think I'm afraid of you? Zhang Ruofeng's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. Ling Xiao's choice was like a slap to his face. How could he not be angry? I'm not interested in whether you're afraid of me or not. I only know that my 2 senior sisters were harmed by you two. Jasmine, tell me what happened. He needed to use Jasmine's words to decide whether he should teach these 2 a lesson or kill them directly. And he also wanted to let everyone here know why he did it. Even if the Holy Master came to investigate in the future, he had reason and evidence. I don't dare to say. Jasmine's whole body trembled like an injured rabbit. Ha ha ha. She doesn't need to say, I'll tell you. That stupid woman. I just wanted to play with her. She actually dared to disobey me. So I gave her something good that made her beg for death. I didn't think that this stupid woman's temper was so strong. She would rather die than obey me. I accidentally ruined her face. So what if you know? I'm the Holy Master's disciple. Don't say that you're not my opponent. Even if you can beat me, do you dare to touch me? Zhang Ruofeng was very proud of himself, as if what he did was something to be proud of. He didn't feel the slightest bit guilty. Simply shameless. What a scumbag. I understand. I'm afraid that today the Holy Master will lose a disciple. Ling Xiao was a lawless guy. In order to avenge his friend, even if it was the sky, he dared to poke a hole. What's more, Zhang Ruofeng was just one of the Holy Master's disciples. Why wouldn't he dare to kill? Ling Xiao, don't be rash. Bai Lian hurriedly advised. It's better to keep yourself alive than to act rashly. You're not his opponent. Bai Lian didn't know how strong Ling Xiao was, so she was worried. Ling Xiao shook his head and said, Senior sister Bai Lian, can't you see? Chapter 3990. Ling Xiao continued. Since they don't want us to live, why should we be so afraid? If I don't attack today, they will still attack me. The result will be the same. It's not that I want to cause trouble, but these 2 scumbags must die. Scumbags. This guy actually dared to call the Holy Lord's disciple scumbags. His guts were too big. The onlookers all retreated a few steps, as if they were afraid they would be implicated. Rose and Jasmine looked at Ling Xiao in shock. Their hearts were beating fast. In the past, it was their master Jiang Nan who protected them. Now, their master seemed to be in trouble. They originally thought that the injustice could no longer be redressed. But their junior brother Ling Xiao stood up. Senior brother Zhang, you don't have to do anything. I can kill this guy. Qin Hao was still brooding over the fact that he was sent flying by Ling Xiao's punch. He was even thinking, if he was able to defeat Ling Xiao, would the Holy Lord be happy and send him an invitation as well? If he could become the Holy Lord's disciple, that would be awesome. Just thinking about it made him excited. Ling Xiao looked at Qin Hao coldly. You don't have to fight. The first one to die is you. Today, no one can save you. Even if your master Ding comes personally, it will be the same. He walked toward Qin Hao, releasing a violent aura. He was like a terrifying beast. The terrifying murderous aura made Qin Hao's expression extremely ugly. He even subconsciously took 2 steps back. I'll kill you. Qin Hao felt that he had lost face. He suddenly exploded, took out a long saber from his storage ring, and looked at Ling Xiao. Crack! Ah! A scream suddenly sounded. Qin Hao, who had pounced toward Ling Xiao, had his legs broken by Ling Xiao. He screamed like a pig being slaughtered. Stop it! Qin Hao is a disciple of the divine Eagle Hall. You attacked him for no reason. You won't have a good ending. Zhang Ruofeng also frowned. He didn't expect Ling Xiao to be so stubborn. He was simply a lunatic. The onlookers were also staring at Ling Xiao with their mouths agape. This terrifying fellow was really crazy. City, Lord Ding was so protective of him. This guy had severely injured Di Hongxiu and Di Hongyan. Now that he had attacked Qin Hao, he really wasn't afraid of death. Stop! Ling Xiao looked at Zhang Ruofeng with disdain. Who do you think you are to ask me to stop? Even if Di Ying came personally, He would not be able to stop my determination to avenge senior sister. What's more, do you think you're very dignified, very powerful, very strong? Sorry, in my eyes, you're just a fart. Crack! Ah! Another scream rang out. This time, it was Chun Hao's arms that were broken. He screamed in pain, and his eyes were filled with terror. Save me! Senior brother Zhang, save me! Chen Hao finally began to call for help. If Zhang Ruofing didn't help, he would probably die. Hinajiku, go kill Ling Xiao. Zhang Ruofing didn't do it himself, and instead ordered Hinajiku. Sorry, I only promised not to attack Chen Hao, but I didn't promise to be your dog's slave. It's better for you to handle this matter yourself. Hinajiku looked deeply at Ling Xiao, then turned and left. She was shocked by Ling Xiao's actions. She deeply felt her own cowardice and shamelessness, so she refused Zhang Ruofing's order. Even if she didn't help Zhang and Palace, she would never attack them. When my revenge is successful, I will atone for my sins with my death. Hinajiku took a deep breath. She really owed Zhang and Palace too much, so death might be the best ending for her. Damn it, everyone is like this. Looks like I have to do it myself. Zhang Ruofing snorted and suddenly attacked Ling Xiao. In the air, a gust of wind from his palm swept through the air, destroying the surrounding trees and causing them to sway in all directions. 8 desolation demons shattering palm. A furious roar sounded out, and Zhang Ruofing's attack had arrived in front of Ling Xiao. His attack was also a peak 6th Order Emperor Realm martial skill. However, its power was much stronger than Di Hongxiu's heaven-shattering battle soul. The reason was because his cultivation base was strong enough. He was stronger than Di Hongxiu. He had reached the peak 6th Order Divine Core Realm. He was a Saint General. In fact, the Saint Lord had a total of 16 disciples. The 7 of them were all City Lord level powerhouses. As for the other 9, they were all at the 6th Order Divine Core Realm. Zhang Ruofing was one of the strongest amongst these 9 disciples, and he wasn't any weaker than Zhan Long. His sudden sneak attack startled Bai Lian and the other disciples of Zhang and Palace. Junior disciple, be careful. Die, brat. Bang! The palm wind landed squarely on the top of Ling Xiao's head. All the disciples of Zhang and Palace immediately closed their eyes, because they couldn't bear to watch. Ling Xiao had offended Zhang Ruofing because of them. If his head was shattered, even if he didn't die, he would be severely injured. Many of the onlookers were gloating over Zhang Ruofing's misfortune. He who asked him to offend Zhang Ruofing. He's just courting death. That's right, Zhang Ruofing is a Saint General. But in the next moment, the gloating turned pale with fright. Of course, Zhang Ruofing was the one who was the most shocked. The palm strike had pierced through his palm. There seemed to be a strange helmet on Ling Xiao's head. A pair of frightening bull horns appeared on his head, although they disappeared in a flash. Zhang Ruofing felt a pain in his heart. Blood kept dripping down from his hand. He backed off in fear and looked at Ling Xiao in astonishment. You, what the hell are you? Although his right hand had been pierced through, it wasn't a big deal. But he was Zhang Ruofing. He was attacking someone, but in the end he was the one who was injured. This was too shameful, too degrading. It was really hard to accept. Surprised, aren't you? I've said it before. You're just trash in front of me. I can't be bothered to attack you. But you did such a scumbag thing to deal with my senior sister. Don't worry. After killing Chen Hao, the next one will be you. Speaking up to here, Ling Xiao finally slapped Chen Hao's dantian with his palm. The dantian shattered, and Chen Hao vomited blood wildly. His face was extremely pale. Oh my God, this guy is definitely a lunatic from head to toe. No, lunatic can't describe him anymore. He's a devil. After killing Chen Hao, City Lord Ding will definitely not let him off. He's dead for sure. Ling Xiao looked disdainfully at the people who were gossiping. All of you, shut your F*** king mouths. You're all good-for-nothings. If your loved ones are trampled on by others, you guys only know how to be cowards, right? Since you're all cowards, don't make a sound. Be careful, or I'll kill you all too. Everyone hurriedly kept quiet. Good Lord, after provoking this devil, could they still live? This guy even dared to kill Chin-Hao. Their master couldn't be compared to City, Lord Ding at all. This guy wasn't even afraid of Ding, so why would he be afraid of others? This trash is already dead. It's your turn next. Chapter 3991. Do you really think you can kill me? Zhang Ruofeng stared at Ling Xiao coldly and said, I'm not trash like Chin-Hao. In my eyes, you're all trash. Ling Xiao didn't want to waste any more time with Zhang Ruofeng. This man was the real mastermind behind this incident. Chin-Hao was just a hired thug. Therefore, after killing Chin-Hao, Zhang Ruofeng had to be killed as well. Suddenly, his body flashed. Before people could see his movements clearly, he was already in front of Zhang Ruofeng. Saint General? In my eyes, you're just a piece of shit. Bang! The ferocious fist smashed onto Zhang Ruofeng's chest. Crack! The sound of bones breaking could be heard. Zhang Ruofeng let out a painful shriek. Then he was slammed onto a nearby mountain wall. A spiderweb-like crack appeared on the mountain wall as a result of the collision. Zhang Ruofeng's body sank into the crack as well. This is ridiculous. Zhang Ruofeng is a Saint General, a peak 6th divine core warrior. How could he be severely injured with just a single strike? This Ling Xiao is indeed a monster, a ferocious devil. TSK, this is terrifying. Looks like we've underestimated him. This Ling Xiao is no longer an ordinary disciple. When the crowd saw Zhang Ruofeng being severely injured with just a single punch, they finally understood what had happened. With Ling Xiao's strength, even in fighting Soul Saint City, he could be ranked in the top 10. Perhaps only those city lords could defeat him. As for the others, they really couldn't. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. When Zhang Ruofeng saw Ling Xiao attacking again, he was startled. He quickly shouted out, My master is the Saint Lord. If you kill me, he won't let you go. Seeing Zhang Ruofeng begging for mercy, the crowd couldn't help but sigh. Just now, Zhang Ruofeng had an arrogant expression on his face, as if he was some mighty warrior, and now he was begging for mercy like a pathetic dog. This was ridiculous. Perhaps this was the feeling of kicking an iron plate. After doing all kinds of bad things, one day he would encounter trouble. This was exactly what people like. Even now, you're still trying to intimidate others. But do you think it's going to work? Ling Xiao's lips curled into a disdainful sneer. Suddenly, he threw a punch at Zhang Ruofeng. Zhang Ruofeng was already seriously injured, and his movements became extremely slow. How could they block his attack? His legs were crippled. Screams rang out continuously. Many people didn't dare to look. However, Ling Xiao didn't seem to have any intention of stopping. You ruined Jasmine's face, so I'll ruin yours. You'll never be able to see anyone again. To be honest, Ling Xiao felt that killing Zhang Ruofeng was too easy for him. It would be best to cripple this guy, then destroy his limbs and face. Let this bastard live in pain for the rest of his life. Trampled and humiliated by everyone. That was the only way to vent his anger. Fire! Poison! Ling Xiao released strange fire and black poison at the same time, burning Zhang Ruofeng's face. Zhang Ruofeng's screams sent chills down everyone's spines. It was too cruel and too terrifying. They wouldn't dare to provoke Ling Xiao again, even if they were given 100 guts. Junior brother, that's enough. After all, he's the disciple of the Holy Lord. It won't be good if things get out of hand. White Lotus had already vented her anger. Seeing Zhang Ruofeng being humiliated like this, she felt very refreshed. Ling Xiao shook his head, looked at Jasmine and Rose, and asked, What about you? Do you think this is enough? I wish I could cut him into pieces, Rose said through gritted teeth. This girl's character was more heroic, unlike Jasmine's weak character. That was why she could say such things directly. Although Jasmine had already woken up, she still felt pity for Zhang Ruofing when she saw him like this. Jasmine, think carefully before you speak. I know you're kind, but this person's viciousness isn't something ordinary people can compare to. If he's alive, he'll wait for an opportunity to take revenge in the future. Ling Xiao reminded her. Jasmine took a deep breath and finally said through gritted teeth, "Kill him!" This girl was still kind after all. She didn't want to see Zhang Ruofing begging for mercy and pain. She only hoped that Ling Xiao could kill Zhang Ruofing as soon as possible. "No, I beg you, Jasmine. It's all my fault. Please ask him to let me go," Zhang Ruofing cried. He didn't want to die. Even if he had to endure endless torture, he still had a chance to recover. After all, his master was the Holy Lord of the Fighting Soul Sacred City. There was definitely a way to help him. But once he died, there would be nothing left. Jasmine's eyes were filled with cold hatred. "If I could move, I'd definitely kill you with my own hands. Even if I'm killed by the Holy Lord, I'll have no regrets." "Well said." Ling Xiao smiled coldly. Then a sword radiance shot out from his fingertip and pierced Zhang Ruofing's elixir field. "No." Zhang Ruofing screamed as his inner elixir was shattered by the sword radiance. He regretted it so much. He had a bright future, but now he was being killed because of a woman. It was not worth it. When the crowd saw Zhang Ruofing's state, they trembled with fear. This young man named Ling Xiao was going to be famous in the Fighting Soul Sacred City. He was going to be completely famous. Not only did he kill Chen Hao from the Divine Eagle Palace, but he also offended Castellan Ding. He even killed Zhang Ruofing, the disciple of the Holy Lord Di Tuatin. Was there anything that this guy didn't dare to do? They couldn't afford to offend this guy in the future. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Of course, there were also some who were gloating. Did they think that Ling Xiao would die after killing Zhang Ruofing? It would only be a few days. Even if the Holy Lord didn't do it personally, Castellan Ding would. He definitely wouldn't let Ling Xiao be so presumptuous. Balian, Jasmine, Rose, and the others all knew that Ling Xiao was neither servile nor overbearing. He even dared to talk back to Castellan's Ding and Hua Feihua in the recruitment hall. But they didn't expect Ling Xiao to be so bold. He even dared to kill the disciple of the Holy Lord. Amidst their excitement and exhilaration, they began to worry about Ling Xiao. With such a big incident happening, there was no way the higher-ups wouldn't do anything about it. This was going to be troublesome. "Junior disciple, why don't you run away now? The further the better. Run to a place where the Holy Lord can't find you," Balian suddenly said. Ling Xiao looked at Balian, then he shook his head and said, "Don't worry, senior disciple sister. I won't die." Ling Xiao wasn't an impulsive person. Since he didn't choose to run away, that was because he had the confidence to do so. Even if he couldn't defeat an extreme core warrior, he still had a way to escape. Life rewind, fiery rebirth, and earth elemental golden light. He also had the miraculous 72 arts of profound theory. He was confident that he wouldn't die. "Be honest with me, junior disciple brother. What is your cultivation level now?" Rose couldn't help but ask. When she saw how calm Ling Xiao was, she had a feeling that Ling Xiao was hiding his cultivation level. "Perfect fourth, heavenly divine core realm. You're right," Ling Xiao said with a smile on his face. He really wasn't hiding his cultivation level. Chapter 3992. "Let's not talk about this anymore. Let's go back." Ling Xiao grinned and said, "The Jiangnan Palace will never fall, and we will never be bullied by anyone. I'll take care of Master's matter as well." He had no idea what had happened to Jiangnan, but Jiangnan had helped him withstand Diying's palm strike, so he had to repay her kindness. Bai Lian let out a sigh. Since Ling Xiao didn't want to leave, there was nothing they could do. They could only take one step at a time. She could only hope that the Saint Lord would be fair and just and investigate the truth. If that was the case, perhaps junior disciple wouldn't be punished. Leave. You people from the Jiangnan Palace have done such a disgraceful thing. Do you really think you can leave so easily? Suddenly, a terrifying pressure came from afar. After a brief moment, a figure appeared in the sky. Bai Lian and the others collapsed onto the ground because of the tremendous pressure. They didn't even have the strength to stand up, let alone leave. Ling Xiao raised his head and looked over. He couldn't help but furrow his brows. A beautiful woman was hovering in the sky, looking down at the crowd with an indifferent expression. I was wondering who it was, so it's you, you bitch. The woman hovering in the sky was Hua Feihua. Because of the conflict they had at the recruitment hall, Ling Xiao didn't respect this woman at all. But Hua Feihua's cultivation had reached the peak 7th divine core realm. This was going to be troublesome. I'm asking you guys a question. Hua Feihua unleashed an even more powerful pressure. Bai Lian and the others couldn't take it anymore. Jasmine and Rose were already injured, and after being attacked by Hua Feihua, their expressions became even worse, and they almost fainted again. Roar! Right at this moment, a terrifying beast roar sounded out from Ling Xiao's mouth. His body instantly transformed into the frost divine dragon beast soul form. He chose this beast soul form because it was more handsome. Secondly, it was easier for him to protect the others. The dragon roar unleashed a powerful aura that blocked off Hua Feihua's pressure. Bai Lian and the others let out sighs of relief, but they were still surprised by Ling Xiao's new appearance. This was the first time Ling Xiao had used a complete beast soul transformation since he came to Fighting Soul Sacred City. Previously, he had only used part of his beast soul transformation to break Zhang Ruofeng's attack. Are you a beast soul warrior? Hua Feihua was also stunned. Ling Xiao was already strong enough, so strong that she found it hard to understand. He didn't expect it to be a beast soul martial artist. He hadn't noticed it before. Blind man. Ling Xiao curled his lips in disdain. Hua Feihua, what does this have to do with you? What are you doing here? Shut up. You, a mere disciple of the city lord, actually dared to speak to me, the city lord, in such a manner. Do you want to die? Hua Feihua was annoyed. Ling Xiao was not giving her any face at all. Why are they all saying the same thing? Chuan Hao said that I want to die. Zhang Ruofeng also said that I want to die. In the end, they all died. Do you want to die too? Ling Xiao looked at Hua Feihua and said coldly, What an arrogant brat. Do you think I'm the same as them? Hua Feihua said coldly, You have committed a grave crime by killing your fellow disciples today. I'll give you 2 choices. First, go to Fighting Soul Sacred City's punishment hall. Second, I'll arrest you. Are you blind? These 2 good-for-nothings bullied my 2 senior sisters in broad daylight. They broke the rules first. I'm just taking revenge. Fighting Soul Sacred City seems to have a rule where revenge is allowed, isn't it? Although I'm new here, I don't think the city lord knows as much about the rules as I do. Ling Xiao had a photographic memory. He could even memorize the contents of a book the moment he touched it. He didn't even need to look at it. Hua Feihua couldn't. She was far from it. Ling Xiao's words left Hua Feihua speechless. She had rushed over after receiving a report from her disciple. The 2 girls who were drinking with Zhang Ruofeng were her disciples. She had thought that she could suppress Ling Xiao's arrogance and make Jiangnan Palace unable to recover from the setback. She could even show off in front of the sacred lord. However, she didn't expect Ling Xiao to be so eloquent that she couldn't outtalk him. She had even embarrassed herself. City Lord Hua Feihua, you should go back and read the rules of Fighting Soul Sacred City. Then you can convict me. Senior sister White Lotus, get on my back. Ling Xiao suddenly transformed into a huge frost divine dragon and called out. They had to rush back to Jiangnan Palace first. Jiangnan Palace was protected by an array and was much safer than here. Even if they encountered trouble, Ling Xiao could deal with it more easily. You want to leave? Hua Feihua came to her senses. She didn't care about the **T rules. Ling Xiao had killed Zhang Ruofeng, her junior brother. She had to kill Ling Xiao. She was furious and started to gather her vital essence, ready to deal a fatal blow to Ling Xiao. However, she didn't expect Ling Xiao to attack first. The huge frost divine dragon suddenly turned its head and looked at Hua Feihua mockingly. It opened its huge mouth. Frost dragon breath. A terrifying chill instantly enveloped Hua Feihua. She didn't have time to react at all. She was frozen in an instant. Triple dragon trapping talisman. Ling Xiao immediately threw out 3 dragon trapping talismans to trap Hua Feihua. He didn't want to fight with Hua Feihua now. Hua Feihua was not weak. Once they started fighting, she might attract more powerful opponents. He could only return to Jiangnan Palace and set up the array. Only then could he be at ease. The array in Jiangnan Palace was a little weak, but it didn't matter. He was an array master himself. He could easily deal with such a small matter. Every time this happened, he couldn't help but admire his wise decision. He had made the right choice to learn array and alchemy back then. Otherwise, who knew how many times he would have died along the way. Not only did these 2 divine skills help him avoid many dangers, but they also increased his cultivation speed by a lot. Little junior brother, who are you? You're so powerful. Rose looked at Ling Xiao in surprise. Ling Xiao had surprised them time and time again. They thought that Hua Feihua's arrival had sealed their doom. Who knew that Ling Xiao could make such a fool out of such a big shot? The rest of the people also had excited looks in their eyes. This little junior brother definitely had an extraordinary background. Otherwise, how could he be so powerful? For a time, the entire Jiangnan Palace treated this little junior brother as their backbone. Since their master was not around, they were willing to listen to Ling Xiao. Little junior brother, what should we do next? Just tell us. Although our abilities are limited, we can still help you. White Lotus was the first to speak. The others also nodded. The survival of Jiangnan Palace depended on this. Ling Xiao said with a smile, I've already thought about this. Don't worry. The key now is to return to Jiangnan Palace. I have a way to restore Jasmine's appearance, but I need some herbs. We'll talk about this when we return to Jiangnan Palace. Chapter 3993. What herbs do you need? White Lotus asked. I have other herbs, but I'm missing a herb called Dihua. Do you know where I can get it? Since White Lotus had asked, Ling Xiao had to answer. I know where to get it. Second senior sister suddenly said, I have an aunt who runs a business in Fighting Soul Sacred City. All the products she sold were cosmetics that could make a woman more beautiful. She has Dihua. I'll go get it now. It's too dangerous to go alone. I'll go with you when we get back to Jiangnan Palace. Ling Xiao thought about it and said, Little junior brother, you think too much. Even if they want to find trouble, they'll find you. I'll be fine. Second senior sister smiled. I'll go with second junior sister. After saying that, White Lotus jumped down with second senior sister and headed to the market in Fighting Soul Sacred City. Ling Xiao was a little worried, but when he thought about it, he was the one who killed them. Those girls didn't do anything. Even if the Sacred Lord wanted to punish them, he should be the one to punish them, not them. His heart felt a little more at ease. Soon, they arrived at Jiangnan Palace. Ling Xiao didn't dare to delay and strengthened the original array in Jiangnan Palace. Then he set up the lesser Thousand Thunder Destroyer array, which he was best at. Then he waited for White Lotus and second senior sister to return. Little junior brother, I'm still a little worried. Although you're stronger than Zhang Ruofeng, you should know that the 7 city lords are the disciples of the Sacred Lord and Zhang Ruofeng's fellow disciples. Other than our master, I'm afraid the rest of them won't let you go. With Hua Feihua, we can only run away pathetically. If there's a stronger being, we'll be in a worse situation. Little junior brother, you don't know that the Law Enforcement Palace is very special in Fighting Soul Sacred City. Not only is it highly respected, but the law enforcement guards are also very powerful. They're only average when compared to sacred generals. Some law enforcement guards are even more terrifying than the city lords. I still think you should leave immediately. I'll support you unconditionally this time, but I don't want you to lose your life because of this. It was Rose who spoke. Rose admired Ling Xiao from the bottom of her heart. Therefore, he was also concerned about Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao shook his head and said, "Rose, I'll say it again. I won't die. After all, this was not the City of Gold. If it was the City of Gold, I would have chosen to escape. But this is just War Soul Sacred City. I'm not afraid. When the time comes, you will know that I am much stronger than you think." His strength was not something that could be explained in a few words. Therefore, he didn't want to waste time explaining. Or rather, he couldn't wait for trouble to come. The more powerful the enemy, the more his potential would be stimulated and the faster his strength would break through. But it's strange. Eldest senior sister and second senior sister haven't returned yet? Could it be that he's really in trouble? Ling Xiao changed the topic. At the same time, he activated his Taiji eye and looked outside. Oh no, Hua Feihua is here. Eldest senior sister and second senior sister seemed to have been kidnapped by him. He stood up abruptly. He did not expect Hua Feihua to be so shameless. A dignified city lord actually wanted to use the disciples of Jiangnan Palace to threaten him. He wasn't afraid of lowering his status. But Jiang Chen had expected this, so he wasn't worried. Although eldest senior sister and second senior sister were captured, they weren't injured. Jiang Chen's judgment was right. The enemy only wanted his life. As for the others, they were just hostages. This is bad. Besides City Lord Hua, there is also Taiyu from the Law Enforcement Palace. Right at this moment, Rose had also sensed the situation outside with her divine sense. Taiyu. Yes, he is one of the law enforcement guards from the Law Enforcement Palace. I think he is a peak 6th Heavenly Core warrior as well. But he is much stronger than Zhang Ruofeng. Furthermore, Taiyu and Zhang Ruofeng came to War Soul Sacred City from the same place. They're good friends. I'm afraid he is going to interfere in this matter. Rose hurriedly explained. What kind of person is Taiyu? Ling Xiao asked while walking outside. He was asking about Taiyu's personality. Once a fight broke out, he would be able to come up with the best strategy based on his opponent's personality. He is a cruel and merciless man. Rumor has it that he uses his identity as a law enforcement guard to deal with those who dared to provoke him. There were a few disciples of Saint Generals who were killed by him on the spot because they obeyed his orders. Most importantly, even Saint Generals can't afford to offend him. That's why he is so arrogant. Rose explained. So he is a scum as well. Ling Xiao had a plan in his mind. Junior disciple, don't be impulsive. The Law Enforcement Palace is different from other places. Once you offend them, you will be in endless trouble. Third senior sister reminded him. It's fine. I've even killed the Saint Lord's disciple. Why should I be afraid of offending another Law Enforcement Palace? You see, this Taiyu came over with a fiendish look. He's clearly here to take revenge. Even if I don't want to cause any trouble, I don't think he will let me go. Ling Xiao spread his hands and said, Third senior sister, I think junior disciple is right. Taiyu is a man who will seek revenge for the smallest grievance. Have you forgotten? There was a Saint General who offended him when he first joined War Soul Sacred City. After that, he became a law enforcement guard in the Law Enforcement Palace, and he tried everything to kill that Saint General. Back then, that Saint General only reprimanded him for his own good. Rose said, Let's leave this matter to junior brother. He is a sensible person. He won't do anything rash. Ling Xiao, get out here. Angry shouts came from outside. Obviously, Taiyu and Hua Feihua could not pass through the Jiangnan Palace's array. You guys stay in the array. I'll go and meet them. After Ling Xiao finished speaking, he flew into the air. When he reached the entrance of the Jiangnan Palace, he saw Taiyu and Hua Feihua holding one person each. They held Bai Lian and second senior sister in their hands. Hua Fei Hua was already an old acquaintance. However, it was Ling Xiao's first time seeing Taiyu. This person was born with a pair of triangular eyes, and he looked very fierce. He stood there like a vulture, as if he could pounce on his opponent at any time. He would tear his opponent apart. Second senior sister, who was held in his hands, was in so much pain that her forehead was sweating. It was obvious that her arms were dislocated. However, the problem was not too serious. "Let them go, I'll go with you," Ling Xiao said calmly. He believed that Taiyu would accept such an offer. After all, Taiyu wanted him, not the other two. "You have no right to negotiate with us. Get out here and surrender, and I might let them go. Otherwise, both of them will die today," Taiyu said coldly. "You killed a fellow disciple in War Soul Sacred City. You deserve to die." "How dare you say that to me? Aren't you violating the rules of War Soul Sacred City?" Ling Xiao said disdainfully. "I'll remind you one last time, let them go. Otherwise, don't even think about taking me away today." Crack! The sound of bones breaking could be heard. Taiyu immediately broke second senior sister's arm. Chapter 3994. Junior brother, don't worry about me. They're here for revenge. Second senior sister shouted loudly. Ling Xiao took a deep breath. Looking at the girl's pale face, a murderous intent suddenly erupted. He originally wanted to hide his strength, but today it seemed that he couldn't. Cosmic Light Tiger Beast Soul Transformation. Cosmic Light Body. Falling plumb clear Shadow Step. Ling Xiao suddenly disappeared from the spot. At that moment, Taiyu felt a terrifying, murderous intent. He threw second senior sister away in horror. But the hand that had broken second senior sister's arm was also cut off by a sword light. In the next moment, Hua Fei Hua felt a terrifying soul power attack her mind. She subconsciously froze for a moment, although she reacted instantly. But when she looked again, Bai Lian was also gone. Ling Xiao had already returned to the Jiangnan Palace. He placed Bai Lian and second senior sister there. The other senior sisters hurried over to take care of them. "Junior brother, we're useless. Taiyu destroyed the dai flower that we brought back." Bai Lian looked at Ling Xiao and felt a little ashamed. "It's okay, as long as the two of you are safe. Second senior sister, take this healing pill. We'll talk about the dai flower later. Anyway, it's not too rare. If we want to find it, we can still find it." Ling Xiao comforted Bai Lian and second senior sister, then looked at Taiyu again. Taiyu's hand that had been cut off was no longer bleeding. It had even grown a new one. But he could clearly feel that Taiyu's aura had become much weaker. If the wrist was cut off, although it wouldn't be completely crippled, it would require a large amount of true essence to repair it. That was the case for Taiyu. "Does it feel good? That sword strike just now only cut off your wrist. Now I'm going to take your life." Ling Xiao looked at Taiyu and said coldly. It wasn't just because Taiyu had hurt second senior sister. More importantly, Taiyu was here to take revenge. He wanted to kill him. When others wanted to kill him, he usually preferred to strike first, because a dead person couldn't take revenge. "Humph, I was just a little careless and got ambushed by you." Taiyu would never believe that he was inferior to Ling Xiao. Hua Fei Hua sneered and said, "Brat, the triple dragon trapping talisman is not bad, but it cost me a lot of time." He had wasted a lot of true essence. "But this time, I definitely won't fall for the same trick. You want to kill Taiyu? Ask me first." Hua Fei Hua was very angry, because she, the dignified city lord, had actually been schemed against by Ling Xiao. She had lost a great deal of face. She had to regain her dignity. Otherwise, his position as the city lord would not be stable enough. "City Lord Hua, you can just watch from the side. I don't need your help to kill Ling Xiao. I'll be frank with you today. I don't care about breaking the rules. I just want to avenge my friend Zhang Ruofeng, that's all. Ling Xiao, if you have the guts, then don't hide in that formation. Come out and fight me fair and square." Taiyu stretched his limbs and swallowed a pill. It was probably a pill to recover true essence and stamina. His wrist had been cut off just now, so he had used up a lot of energy. He said that he did not care about Ling Xiao, but in his heart he still cared about him. Therefore, he had to ensure that his strength was at its peak. Fine, I'll go out. Do you really think I'm afraid of you? Taiyu wanted to kill Ling Xiao, and Ling Xiao wanted Taiyu's life. There was no need for him to hide in the formation. This formation was prepared to defend against experts like Diying. He did not care about a mere Taiyu. As he spoke, he had already walked out of Jiangnan Palace and out of the formation. Good, you have guts. Just based on this, Taiyu, can give you a quick death. You brat, you're quite brave. It's a pity that you shouldn't have killed my junior brother. If I don't kill you today, how can I show my face in front of others? As Taiyu spoke, he suddenly pulled out a long sword. This guy was also a swordsman. His sword was a rare heavenly king weapon, and it was at the same level as Ling Xiao's blood sovereign sword. With this weapon alone, he was much stronger than Zhang Ruofeng. Not to mention, Taiyu's strength was also much higher than Zhang Ruofeng's. This long sword was much longer than ordinary swords. It was at least 3 meters long. The huge body of the sword was pure black in color. Moreover, the blade gave off a strange feeling, as if it was soft. At the same time, it was emitting a terrifying aura. It was like a poisonous snake was swaying in the air. Dark Sword Ghost Snake. Taiyu said the name of the sword in his hand. It was a good sword, and the name sounded very cold. With a sword like this and a peak 6 heavenly core cultivation base, Taiyu's strength had probably surpassed the king of the Z Kingdom. However, Ling Xiao's current strength was also much stronger than the king of the Z Kingdom. Putting aside everything else, just his body alone was more than enough to kill his opponent. Too bad. No one knew how frightening Ling Xiao was. When Hua Feihua saw the sword being unsheathed, she immediately looked at Ling Xiao with a mocking expression. Taiyu with a sword is dozens of times stronger than Taiyu without a sword. Do you think you can be so arrogant just because you've injured him with a sneak attack? Wrong. You'll die a horrible death. Although Taiyu is only ranked 10th in the Law and Order Guards, he is ruthless. His dark sword ghost is known to all. Just like the black sword ghost snake in his hand, once it bites the enemy, it will never let go. Taiyu, as a Law and Order Guard, you're breaking the law. When my master returns, he won't let you go. So what if you're a Law and Order Guard? The difference between your strength and my master's is like heaven and earth. Bai Lian shouted with a stern voice. In the end, she didn't want Ling Xiao to fight Taiyu. If he lost, Ling Xiao would definitely die. If he won, Ling Xiao would offend the Law and Order Guards, and that wouldn't bring him any benefits. Therefore, not fighting was the best choice. But the problem was that Taiyu wouldn't listen to her. Jiangnan? Jiangnan is in the Law and Order Hall now. She offended the young master earlier today, who is also the governor of the city, Diying. That's considered an offense. Although the Lord has shown mercy, she will still be locked up for 7 days. After 7 days, the Jiangnan Palace will no longer exist. You're still counting on her? Taiyu smiled smugly. He dared to come here because Jiangnan wasn't here. Otherwise, he wouldn't have dared to come here. What? When the people in the Jiangnan Palace heard this, they were all terrified. Although they had heard Zhang Ruofeng mention their master before, at that time they thought that Zhang Ruofeng was just toying with them and that it wasn't true. Now they were in despair. As expected, they couldn't offend Diying and the Lord's disciple. If they offended them, they would be in trouble. Little brother, let's fight together. Although I may not be of much help, I can't let you take the risk alone. Bai Lian said loudly. Yes, let's fight together. Chapter 3995. A bunch of trash. What's the difference if we attack together? Taiyu said, disdainfully. A piece of trash. Is it worth it for us to attack together? Ling Xiao said sarcastically, Senior sisters, get a small bench and sit there to watch the show. I've killed more than one trash like Taiyu. Although he's stronger than Zhang Ruofeng, he's not much stronger. Don't worry. Good boy, you really dare to talk. Then come. Let me see what makes you so arrogant. Ling Xiao smiled faintly, and the blood supreme sword suddenly came out of its sheath. The terrifying, murderous aura actually dyed the entire sky red. At that moment, Taiyu actually subconsciously took a few steps back. The black sword ghost snake in his hand was trembling. It was also a precious, heavenly king weapon. But he had completely lost to Ling Xiao in terms of momentum. You're so powerful. Why are you retreating? Ling Xiao said disdainfully. Peak sword essence was constantly released. It formed a space condensed by sword essence, enveloping the opponent inside. What kind of monster are you? Beast soul warrior? But you also have a sword martial spirit? Taiyu became more and more afraid. Ling Xiao's performance was too unexpected. It doesn't matter what I am. As long as I can defeat you, that's enough. Ling Xiao said indifferently. Arrogant. How strong can your sword soul be? My saber martial spirit is at the innate level. My saber essence has reached the great achievement. What do you have to compete with me? In order to regain his confidence, Taiyu roared angrily. Ling Xiao found it funny. Innate saber martial spirit at the innate level? His demon god sword soul had reached the innate level 40. Great achievement saber essence? His sword essence had reached the peak level. Besides cultivation, Taiyu was not stronger than Ling Xiao in any other aspect. He really didn't know where this idiot got the confidence to clamor. You'd better not disappoint me too much. I hope to be a strong opponent. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. His figure suddenly flashed and turned into a blood-red lightning bolt. He attacked Taiyu. The sonic boom produced at that moment shattered the stones on the ground. Blood-red lightning. A blood-red longsword. Ling Xiao was like a bloody devil. He did not wait for Taiyu to deal with him. Instead, he made the first move. Taiyu's expression didn't look good. According to his original plan, Ling Xiao should be kneeling on the ground and begging for mercy when he arrived here. Unlike now, who actually dared to take the initiative to attack him. You want to play the same old trick again? I let you have your way just now, but this time you definitely won't succeed. Taiyu appeared very calm. He had always thought that the reason why Ling Xiao was able to injure him before was purely because he was careless. Ling Xiao's strength was not that strong. That was why he was so calm at this moment. Taiyu sneered. The black sword ghost snake in his hand trembled. On the black sword, true yuan surged, producing a black sword qi. The sword qi condensed and turned into a huge black snake. All the plants that came into contact with the black gas instantly withered. A terrifying and gloomy energy brewed in the black sword ghost snake. Ghost snake swallows hell. What a domineering sword skill. It even wanted to swallow the Nether King. Following Taiyu's roar, a sword light turned into a huge black snake and pounced at Ling Xiao. All the plants on the ground were swept up and turned into dry firewood. The huge snake's mouth was already open as if to swallow Ling Xiao in one bite. Then it was digested and corroded. A sword skill that could even swallow the Nether King. How could Ling Xiao block it? At least, that was what everyone thought except for Ling Xiao. They did not think that Ling Xiao would be able to block this terrifying attack. The power of this attack had already fully displayed the essence of a peak 6th Order Emperor level martial skill. It was even more terrifying than the moves that Di Hongxiu and Zhang Ruofeng used. However, Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a hint of disdain. He gently raised the blood-red long sword in his hand. Then he gently waved his hand. The violent ghost snake was so easily destroyed by the blood-red long sword. Ling Xiao did not even use any martial skill. It was so easy and relaxed. What a joke! His physical body had reached the peak 7th Order Emperor level of defensive martial skill. His opponent's attack was only a peak 6th Order Emperor level martial skill. Even if he had an advantage in cultivation, he could not make up for the huge gap. Ling Xiao lifted his foot and walked toward Taiyu. He walked slowly like that, However, every step he took made Tai Yu's heart tremble. Ling Xiao was simply unfathomable. Waves of fear rose in his heart. Kill! 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 Tai Yu crazily tried to hide his fear with attacks. Crazy sword light flew out one after another. However, Ling Xiao used the same method to defeat every sword light. Every time he defeated it, he would take a step forward. Tai Yu's attack not only did not hurt Ling Xiao, but also could not stop Ling Xiao from moving forward. What was going on? Not only Tai Yu himself, even that Hua Feihua was dumbfounded. No matter how strong Ling Xiao was, facing Tai Yu, he should not have such a huge advantage. This was simply not scientific. Could it be that you've never known that your attacks are really weak? Ling Xiao looked at Tai Yu mockingly as he walked and said, I don't even have to dodge. You can't hurt me no matter what. What a joke, what a tragedy. Tai Yu was already more and more terrified at this time. He even doubted whether he had made the right decision to come here. He thought of his friend Zhang Ruofeng's death and was even more terrified in his heart. Dash! I don't want to die. Nether Dragon slash. Tai Yu used his most powerful attack. This was the 7th Order Emperor level martial skill that he had always been unwilling to use. Nether Dragon slash. When the ghost snake turned into a ghost dragon, the attack power could skyrocket. The terrifying black divine dragon pounced toward Ling Xiao with bared fangs and brandished claws. I'll see if you can still block it. Tai Yu already lost the ability to think at this time. The only thing he could do was to explode with his most powerful attack. See if he could kill Ling Xiao or not. If he could not, he also did not know what to do. Perhaps coming today was simply a huge mistake. What was the most terrifying opponent? It was the kind that clearly looked very weak and was clearly in front of your eyes, but you could not defeat it, no matter how powerful your attack was. The other person could just casually break it. That kind of feeling was simply crazy. You're afraid? You're afraid? Ha! I never knew that a person who often kills others would actually be afraid. Ling Xiao looked at Tai Yu, mocking and laughing. He still walked forward. Every step forward was like using a huge iron hammer to ruthlessly smash on Tai Yu's chest. Is it very painful? Very terrified? All right, I'm a merciful person. I won't torture you. It was another easy attack without using any martial skill. He did not even use a sword. He directly used his fist to destroy the so-called Nether Dragon. Ghost Dragon? Chapter 3996. In the next moment, Ling Xiao arrived in front of Tai Yu. Tai Yu was startled. The black sword ghost snake in his hand pierced towards Ling Xiao's body. But something unbelievable happened. The black sword ghost snake, a rare grade heavenly king weapon, couldn't pierce through Ling Xiao's body. It couldn't even leave a shallow wound on Ling Xiao's body. Hua Feihua didn't know how to express her shock anymore. Ling Xiao, this brat, was much more terrifying than she had imagined. Just the strength of his body alone had surpassed a rare grade heavenly king weapon. Could it be an immortal grade heavenly king weapon? She was still in shock. Ling Xiao's hand had broken Tai Yu's black sword ghost snake. He then raised the blood-red sword and chopped off Tai Yu's right arm. Do you think it's fun to break someone's arm? I'll let you have a taste of having your arm cut off. Bastard, stop it now. Hua Feihua finally realized that if she didn't do anything, Tai Yu would die here. Just stay there. It's not your turn to die yet. Ling Xiao waved his hand. Martial Soul Barrier. The barrier was activated, and Hua Feihua crashed into it. With her strength, it would take her at least half an hour to break the barrier from the outside. After such a long time, Tai Yu would have died long ago. The scene had shocked everyone. Ling Xiao was too strong. Tai Yu was ranked 10th among the law enforcement guards. But he couldn't even withstand a single strike from Ling Xiao, and he couldn't even break through Ling Xiao's defense. Of course, the scariest thing was that Ling Xiao was able to ignore Hua Feihua's anger. What had happened to this world? The arrogant and despotic Taiyu, who was feared by everyone below the 7th divine core realm, was being toyed with. He couldn't even fight back in front of Ling Xiao. This battle was really strange. Although everyone thought it would be a one-sided battle, they thought it would be a one-sided battle. It was just that the two sides in his imagination had been swapped. It was not that Ling Xiao was powerless in front of Taiyu. It was Taiyu who could only take a beating in front of Ling Xiao. The battle started quickly and ended quickly as well. Ling Xiao only relied on his physical body and the sword in his hand. From the beginning to the end, he didn't even use a single sword technique to defeat his opponent. Crack! Another sword strike came down. Taiyu's other arm was also crippled. At this time, Ling Xiao put away his sword and grabbed Taiyu's head. It was as if he was carrying a dead dog. The people of Jiangnan Palace looked at Ling Xiao as if they were worshipping a god. However, there was also a hint of worry in his heart. It was just as they had thought. If Ling Xiao lost, he would be dead. But if he won, it would be very troublesome. Severely injuring a disciple of the punishment hall was a great crime. There was probably no way to clean up this mess. He really didn't know what would happen next. It doesn't matter. Anyway, I support Junior Brother. Things have developed to this point, and it's not something we can control. It's all those people's fault. They thought that our Jiangnan Palace was easy to bully, so they kept looking for trouble. They deserved to die. Bai Lian smiled bitterly. Now, she could only smash a broken jar. However, she really admired Ling Xiao. From the beginning to the end, Ling Xiao didn't let any of them help. This was not looking down on them, but protecting them. Even if they were investigated in the future, they wouldn't do anything. But she really didn't need such protection. Everything Ling Xiao did was for the Jiangnan Palace. She couldn't bear to let Ling Xiao bear the evil reputation alone. In fact, she really thought too much. What evil reputation? Ling Xiao didn't care at all. He had long understood the true meaning of this world, which was that strength was respected. As long as you were strong enough, no rules could bind you. Only when you were strong enough could you make this world develop the way you wanted. Killing an evil person could save 100 good people. Killing was not evil. Killing the innocent was evil. Taiyu, didn't you want to kill me? Why aren't you doing it now? Ling Xiao looked at Taiyu and said with a mocking smile on his face, this was the Taiyu who made all the warriors below the 7th divine core realm tremble in fear. But now he was being teased and mocked by Ling Xiao. There was nothing Taiyu could do. Both of his eyes were filled with fear. On his face there was only regret. Why did he stand out? Why did he have to look for Ling Xiao? He regretted it. He regretted it so much. Evil creature, do you know what you're doing now? If you continue, you'll fall into eternal damnation, and no one will be able to save you. In the Fighting Soul Sacred City, you'll be despised by everyone. Fei Hua shouted out from within the martial soul barrier. She was really worried that Taiyu would be killed. If Taiyu was really killed, she would lose even more face, and she would also offend the law enforcement palace. It wasn't worth it. Despised by everyone. Ling Xiao smiled and said, what's so great about the Fighting Soul Sacred City? That Saint Lord of yours didn't even punish trash like Taiyu and Zhang Ruofeng. I don't think you're anything good either. Do you think I won't leave the Fighting Soul Sacred City and join another sacred city? I might even kill all of you. Because of what happened to Jianqin and Chuling, he didn't have a good impression of Di Tuotian. But since he didn't want to kill anyone, he wanted to know more about this Di Tuotian. Then he would decide if he wanted to take revenge or not. But now he didn't think it was necessary. A man who protected his disciple and allowed his disciple to commit murder. His character was definitely not good. He was a reincarnated warrior, and he had been to the Heavenly Dragon Continent, Divine Phoenix Continent, and White Tiger Continent. Then he came to the Black Tortoise Continent. What hadn't he seen before? He had seen a lot of people like this. As the saying goes, a crooked stick will have a crooked shadow. From the disciple, he could tell what kind of person the master was. Crazy. You're crazy. Do you think with your strength You can fight against the Saint Lord? Not to mention the Holy Master. Even I can easily crush you to death. If you stop now, perhaps I will spare your life on account of your outstanding talent." Although Hua Feihua didn't like Ling Xiao, however, Ling Xiao's strength and talent were becoming clearer and clearer to her. It would be a pity if such a person died. I've said it before. You're not worthy to be my master. Not only are you unworthy, but the Saint Lord of the Fighting Soul Sacred City is also unworthy. You said that I can't do anything to the Saint Lord. I believe you. But you said I can't do anything to you? You think too highly of yourself. Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with disdain. After I'm done with Taiyu, I'll deal with you. I hope you don't run away. You. Hua Feihua was so angry that her body trembled. A junior, a guy who had just joined the Fighting Soul Sacred City less than a day, dared to look down on her. Her eyes were filled with the most terrifying, killing intent. I thought you had some talent and wanted to spare your life. But now, it seems that there's no need for that. You must die. If you don't die, how can I calm my anger? Scream all you want. I want to see how you're going to break my martial spirit barrier. Chapter 3997. Although Hua Feihua was strong, she was no match for him. As long as he attacked with all his might, he could kill Hua Feihua. The reason why he did not attack was because he was unwilling to do so. He was afraid that he would be ambushed if he was injured. Of course, if Hua Feihua wanted to kill him, he would not avoid it. At most, he would kill this woman and run away. After all, he was invincible in the world with his survival skills. Ignoring Hua Feihua, Ling Xiao exerted force and smashed Taiyu's head. If he did not kill this person, he would definitely cause trouble for him again and again. He had seen a lot of people like this. In order to avoid trouble in the future, he had to kill this guy first. Seeing Taiyu being killed by Ling Xiao, Hua Feihua was so angry that she was like a female cat who was interrupted in the middle of her puberty. There was no need to mention how depressed his expression was. Ling Xiao removed the martial spirit barrier and threw away Taiyu's body. Then he looked at Hua Feihua. "All right, it's your turn now. If you want to kill me, just do it." "Ling Xiao, how can you speak to the city governor like that?" Suddenly a voice was heard. It was Jiang Nan. Taiyu said that Jiang Nan was imprisoned in the disciplinary hall to reflect on his mistakes. Unexpectedly, Jiang Nan had actually appeared. Ling Xiao and the rest were happy, but Hua Feihua was shocked. Jiang Nan might not be as strong as Diying, but he was stronger than her. Hua Feihua hurriedly dodged to prevent herself from being attacked by Jiang Nan and Ling Xiao. "Master, this disciple is only playing with City, Lord Hua. Today, a good-for-nothing came to our Jiangnan palace. I killed him. Is it okay?" Ling Xiao was talking about Taiyu. Jiang Nan looked coldly at Taiyu's body and said to Hua Feihua, "City Governor Hua, since you brought him here, please take him back." Jiang Nan's expression was calm, as if he already knew what was going to happen today. "Jiang Nan, what nonsense are you talking about? That was Taiyu, the disciplinary guard of the disciplinary hall. Your disciple killed him. Shouldn't he take responsibility? Could it be that even you escaped from the disciplinary hall?" Hua Feihua was furious. Jiang Nan clearly wanted to protect Ling Xiao. "City Lord Hua, you must be careful with your words. I was indeed locked up in the punishment hall before, but now that big sister Qinglian is coming back, do you think they would still dare to lock me up?" Jiang Nan mocked. Elder Green Lotus. Hua Feihua was shocked. The Green Lotus, swordswoman, had unfathomable strength. She was probably even more terrifying than the Saint Lord of the Fighting Soul Sacred City. His relationship with Jiang Nan was also very good. If she came to Fighting Spirit Sacred City, those fellows from the punishment hall who bullied the weak and feared the strong would not dare to offend her. Also, are you saying that Ling Xiao is guilty? Don't you think this is ridiculous? Whether it was Chen Hao, Zhang Ruofing, or Taiyu, they were all the ones who made the first move. Could it be that you really think that I, Jiang Nan, am easy to bully and that my disciples can be bullied as they wish? 3 pieces of trash. So what if they were killed? What? The sacred leader didn't say anything, but you're quite proactive. Jiang Nan's words shocked Hua Feihua. Could it be that the sacred leader had swallowed his anger just because the Green Lotus swordswoman was coming back? He was not going to touch the Jiangnan palace for the time being? If that was the case, no one would come to help her if she continued to cause trouble here. Thinking of this, Hua Feihua snorted coldly and said, I will ask the sacred leader about this. Just you wait, people from the Jiangnan palace. With that, she left with Taiyu's body. She had been arrogant when she had arrived, but she left in a sorry state. After Hua Feihua left, Jiang Nan looked at Ling Xiao with gratitude. I have to say that if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have been able to survive. If it weren't for you, the Jiangnan palace would have been destroyed. Thank you. Master, how can you say that? I, Ling Xiao, may have just joined the Jiangnan palace, but I am still a member of the Jiangnan palace. How can I not care when my senior sister is being bullied? Ling Xiao shook his head and said, Good. Big Sister Qinglian did not misjudge you. You are worthy of being nurtured. Jiang Nan smiled and took out a stylized flower. This was given to me by those bastards from the disciplinary court. They said that Taiyu destroyed the stylized flower that you were looking for. That's great. With this stylized flower, I can refine the stylized flower restoration pill. Senior Sister Jasmine will not have to suffer the pain of disfigurement anymore. Ling Xiao hurried back to the Jiangnan palace to refine the pill. Jiang Nan did not disturb him. Instead, she went to the other disciples and sighed. It's all my fault for being useless and making you suffer. Master, you can't say that. We're too useless. If it was not for junior brother, I'm afraid none of us would be alive. Bai Lian sighed. She really felt wronged. You have all worked very hard. Actually, you're not considered weak among the 7 city lord palaces. Jiang Nan smiled. It's just a pity for Hinajiku. Her eyes have been blinded by hatred. She had turned into an ungrateful person who did not recognize her own family. Sigh, I must have been blind. Master, you should go and persuade little junior sister. She will definitely listen to you. Bai Lian said, She is just confused for a moment. Forget it. Everyone has their own ambitions. Moreover, she is not wrong to choose the Holy Lord. It's just that she picked the wrong time. Jiang Nan shook her head. I, Jiang Nan, lost to Hinajiku, but gained a better Ling Xiao. I did not lose out. It's done. Just as Jiang Nan was observing Jasmine and Rose's injuries, Ling Xiao's voice sounded. So fast? It hasn't even been 10 minutes. Jiang Nan was shocked. Ling Xiao did not need a furnace to refine pills. This in itself was abnormal enough. He actually needed less than 10 minutes to refine a stylized flower restoration pill. This was something that other alchemists would not be able to do. Don't doubt my level. Actually, what I am best at is not martial arts, but alchemy. Ling Xiao smiled and stuffed the stylized flower restoration pill into Jasmine's mouth. Then he circulated his energy to help her refine it. Just a minute or 2 later, Jasmine's ruined face actually glowed. Not only did she regain her original appearance, but she also seemed to be much prettier. Some of the blemishes on her face were also removed. Little junior brother, Jasmine is very grateful for your kindness. If you need me in the future, even if I have to go through a mountain of swords or a sea of flames, I will not refuse. Jasmine knelt on the ground and said while crying, There's no need to go through a mountain of swords or a sea of flames. I might as well give myself to you. Rose laughed. Don't talk nonsense. Little junior brother is such an outstanding person. He must have someone he likes. How can I be shameless? Jasmine shook her head. She also wanted to marry Ling Xiao. The feelings in the martial arts world were very simple. There was no pure love. The feelings between people were intertwined with worship gratitude, and so on. Ling Xiao was so outstanding. She naturally liked him. There was nothing to hide. Moreover, he saved her. Ling Xiao smiled awkwardly. Yu Fenghua's figure appeared in his mind. I wonder how that girl is doing now. Chapter 3998. Oh, right, senior sisters. I can tell that all of you have pretty good potential, but you're lacking some good pills. A divine core warrior can use many pills to help him break through and cultivate. But the best one is the 9 Suns Spirit Refining Pill. How about this? You can find the ingredients for the 9 Suns Spirit Refining Pill yourselves, and I'll concoct it for you. I guarantee that after consuming it, your cultivation will at least increase by 1 level. Ling Xiao quickly changed the topic. Same for Master. You can't always be suppressed by that ding. Since you've chosen me, I'll make you the strongest mayor. Hearing this, everyone was overjoyed. They had heard about the 9 Suns Spirit Refining Pill before, and they had collected the ingredients for it. The problem was, even though they had collected all the ingredients, there was no alchemist who could concoct it. Only the Saint Lord was qualified to visit the Golden City and ask the alchemists there to concoct this pill. We've collected 20 sets of ingredients over the years. As long as you can concoct 1 9 Suns Spirit Refining Pill, we'll give you all the ingredients. Jiangnan said, Then give me all of them. 1 pill is not enough. I have a master and 9 senior sisters. At the very least, he would need to refine 10 pills. As for the rest of the ingredients, I'll treat it as your reward. Ling Xiao said with a smile. Jiangnan thought Ling Xiao was just joking. After all, the success rate of concocting this pill wasn't high. It would be a miracle if he could concoct 10 pills out of 100 sets of ingredients. Concocting 10 pills out of 20 sets of ingredients? That was just a fantasy. But she still hoped that Ling Xiao could concoct 1 or 2 pills. This was good for her. As long as she broke through, the Jiangnan Palace wouldn't be bullied so easily. Even if the Saint Lord wanted to deal with her, he would have to think twice. Therefore, she gave all the ingredients to Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao took the ingredients and was about to concoct the pill when Jiangnan said, Don't rush. I have something to tell you. She didn't call herself master, mainly because she didn't think she was qualified enough. She was just taking care of Sword Maiden Azure Lotus Disciple. Ling Xiao nodded his head. Together with Jiangnan, they walked into the mayor's mansion. Jiangnan looked at Ling Xiao and only said after a long time, Your strength is even more formidable than I imagined. I'm even more surprised by your courage. It's a pity that I'm too weak to give you any pointers, but you can be at ease. So long as I, Jiangnan, still have a breath in me, I will absolutely not tolerate you being harmed. She was clearly expressing her stance in front of Ling Xiao. She wanted to be his staunchest supporter. No one disliked talented disciples. Jiangnan was no exception. Although she treated each of her disciples well, she also hoped that there would be someone outstanding among her disciples. Daisy used to be her hope. Unfortunately, Hinajika betrayed her and chose the Holy Lord. However, she was not sad because Ling Xiao was still her disciple, at least on the surface. Be it talent or strength, Ling Xiao was not inferior to Hinajiku, perhaps even stronger. I know that you have a lot of secrets, but I'm not interested to know. I asked you to come here today just to give you a suggestion. Let's go to War Spirit Valley. In the War Spirit Valley, even if the Holy Lord finds trouble with you, he can't do it himself. Of course, if you meet the Holy Lord's disciple or the law enforcement hall's martial artists, then you can only count yourself unlucky. But I believe that you won't be afraid of them, right? Jiangnan thought for a long time. Although the Holy Lord would not do anything to Ling Xiao on the surface because of Azure Lotus Swordswoman, but secretly, who knows? In the War Spirit Valley, even if the Holy Lord entered, he would not be able to use his powerful divine sense. So it would be very difficult to find Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao would naturally be safer. Of course not. Ling Xiao smiled and said, To be honest, Master, you might not believe it, but in the entire war spirit sacred city, I'm only afraid of your holy lord. As for the others, I don't really care. Good. In that case, you should go to the war spirit valley. Not only will you be safe there, but there might also be good opportunities. Jiang Nan smiled and said, I'm going. Are you guys okay? Ling Xiao was a little worried. If it's something that even I can't solve, it's useless for you to stay. Jiang Nan smiled and said, That's true. It won't be too late for me to go to the War Spirit Valley after I've refined the 9 Suns soul refining pill. Ling Xiao thought and said, the stronger he was, the more he could protect himself. It would not be easy for others to harm him. Even if he wanted to protect Jiangnan Palace, it would be easier than now. It won't take too long, right? Jiangnan frowned and said, It won't. It'll only take a day at most. Ling Xiao smiled confidently and then turned to leave. Jiangnan silently guarded Ling Xiao and also told Bai Lian and the others not to disturb Ling Xiao. Time passed slowly. The news of Tai Yu's death quickly spread throughout the entire War Spirit Sacred City. In an instant, Ling Xiao's name spread far and wide. Even the small figures in the corners of War Spirit Sacred City heard this person's name. Kill Qin Hao. Kill Zhang Ruofeng. Kill Tai Yu. Each of these 3 men was stronger than the previous one. But Ling Xiao had easily killed all of them, especially Zhang Ruofeng and Tai Yu. They were both perfect 6 heavenly core warriors. One was a disciple of the Holy Lord, and the other was a law guard from the law enforcement palace. But they were both killed by Ling Xiao. Many people were unhappy. How dare a newcomer act so presumptuously? But when they thought about Ling Xiao's strength, they shut their mouths. Of course, there were also many people who were cheering in their hearts. No matter if it was Zhang Ruofeng or Tai Yu, neither of them were good people. Of course, there were many people who hated them. Ling Xiao could be considered to have avenged them and resolved their hatred. They couldn't be more grateful, so why would they hate Ling Xiao? The Jiangnan Palace, which was in a weak position, had suddenly become the center of attention in War Spirit Sacred City. Although the other disciples of the Jiangnan Palace weren't that great. There was even an outstanding girl who was taken away by the Holy Lord. But now, with the addition of Ling Xiao, everything had changed. Many people estimated Ling Xiao's strength, and they thought he was at least a perfect 6th heavenly core warrior. He was one of the top 10 young disciples in War Spirit Sacred City. What confused these people the most was that the Holy Lord and the Law Enforcement Palace didn't mention a word about Ling Xiao's murder. They didn't even make any judgments. It was as if the murder had never happened. If the Sacred Lord makes a move, you might be suspected of bullying the weak. I suspect they are waiting for those few men. Many people were discussing in private. No matter if it was the Holy Lord or the Law Enforcement Palace, they both had some outstanding young disciples. But right now, some of them were cultivating in the Valley of Fighting Soul, and some are out on missions. If they were here, Ling Xiao wouldn't have acted so arrogantly. Ling Xiao didn't care about these things. He had said it before, in the entire War Spirit Sacred City, the only person he was afraid of was the Holy Lord. No matter how many people came, he would be able to kill them all. Right now, he was concentrating on concocting pills. Chapter 3999. Ling Xiao felt that he needed to recover his former cultivation as soon as possible. In this way, his combat strength would skyrocket. Even if he wanted to avenge Jian Qin and Chu Ling, it wouldn't be a problem. 6 hours later, Ling Xiao walked out of the room. Looking at his tired expression, Jiang Nan said with concern, It doesn't matter if you didn't succeed. Anyway, you were just trying your luck. Go and rest first. When you're done, go to the War Spirit Valley. I'm worried that someone is already working in the dark and preparing to make a move on you. Who said I didn't succeed? Ling Xiao grinned and took out 10 spirit refining pills that shone with a golden light and emitted a mesmerizing fragrance. The spirit refining pills were placed in a jade box and were very beautiful. 10 pills. Oh my God, it's really 10 pills. How did you refine it? Jiang Nan exclaimed. Bai Lian, and the others also gathered around. Seeing the pills, they were all dumbfounded. In fact, they didn't have much hope. Who would have thought that Ling Xiao would actually succeed? Don't just stand there. Take the pills, one each. I wish you all a breakthrough in cultivation. Increase the strength of Jiangnan Palace. Then I can go to the War Spirit Valley to cultivate in peace. Ling Xiao smiled. We can't take all of them. How about this? You leave 5 and we'll take 5. That's it. Jiang Nan carefully put 5 of the pills into a bottle and said, Come on, master. I don't need these things. Ling Xiao shook his head. It wasn't that he didn't need them, but he already had them. 20 sets of materials. He had refined 20 spirit refining pills. He still had 10 left. Although there was no limit to the number of pills, the first one had the best effect. The second one would probably only have half the effect. The third one would have even less effect. After that, it would be almost useless. It was useless for him to have so many. In the future, he would still give them away. He gave all 5 spirit refining pills to Jiang Nan. Ling Xiao directly left Jiangnan Palace. Master, I'm going to the War Spirit Valley. This child. The more Jiang Nan looked at Ling Xiao, the more she liked him. Not only was his talent outstanding, but his character was also very outstanding. This kind of character was really praiseworthy. Come, one for each of you. After eating, cultivate properly. You can't disappoint junior brothers. High hopes for you. After Jiang Nan distributed the spirit refining pills, he went into closed-door cultivation. Now that the Jiangnan Palace's array had been strengthened and reinforced by Ling Xiao, unless the Holy Master personally came, the array would not be able to penetrate it. Otherwise, it would be impossible for others to break through. Even a sacred master wouldn't be able to break it in a short period of time. Of course, she could enter seclusion in peace. Bai Lian and the others also returned to their respective practice rooms to cultivate. After the incident with Zhang Ruofing and Taiyu, they all realized the gap in their strength. He wanted to desperately improve himself so that he could help Ling Xiao. He was going to help his master. In fact, Ling Xiao had the same idea. He knew that his current strength was not enough. He had to improve as soon as possible. Otherwise, he would always have a shadow in his heart towards the Holy Lord. Also, only by standing out among the 3,000 sacred cities would he be able to step into the mysterious city of gold. Only when he arrived at the city of gold would he be able to stand on equal footing with the disciples of the Eternal Palace. Only then would he be able to officially marry Yu Fanghua. This was something he had to do. Of course, the spirit refining pills alone wouldn't be enough. Therefore, he had to go to the Valley of Fighting Souls and explore its secrets. At the same time, he had to constantly improve his cultivation. Along the way, Ling Xiao met many people. Some of them worshipped him. Some of them hated him. But no matter who it was, none of them dared to offend him. Even a saint general was no match for Ling Xiao. Offending Ling Xiao was the same as offending a saint general. The Holy Master used to have 7 city lords as his disciples. He also had 6 peak 6 heavenly core saint general disciples. Zhan Long went to another place to carry out a mission. Zhang Ruofing was killed, and the remaining 4 are cultivating in the Valley of Fighting Souls. Those 4 are the ones who have the highest chance of breaking through to the next realm. Now that 10 years have passed, I wonder how they will feel when they come back and see their junior brothers killed by someone? Let alone the Holy Master's disciples. Even the law and order guards won't let Ling Xiao go. Even the law and order guards are cultivating in the Valley of Fighting Souls. This is the calm before the storm. I think sooner or later there will be a big reshuffle in Fighting Souls' sacred city. If Ling Xiao wins, Jiangnan Palace's status will definitely rise. If Ling Xiao loses, he won't be able to escape death, and the Jiangnan Palace will most likely be abolished. Discussions like this could be heard everywhere. Many of them didn't have any opinions. They just wanted to watch a show. Are they all lining up to die? When Ling Xiao heard these discussions, he didn't feel any pressure at all. Instead, he just sneered. He wasn't even afraid of a city lord, so why would he be afraid of a few Saint General disciples? Even if they broke through to the next realm, they would at most be a city lord. Why would he be afraid? He didn't want to kill people for no reason. But if someone really wanted to die, he wouldn't show any mercy. The #1 position in Fighting Soul's sacred city would belong to him. No one could fight with him for it. Otherwise, his sword wouldn't have any eyes. As a man who had once killed a peak 8 divine core warrior, Shui Whiteling, Ling Xiao had the heart of a mighty warrior. He was extremely strong. He wasn't someone who could be easily frightened by his opponents. This time, no one dared to stop him from entering the Valley of Fighting Souls. All of them obediently registered for him. The Valley of Fighting Souls was still the same as before. It gave people a gloomy feeling. It was as if they were shrouded in darkness all day long. He killed those monsters in the first stage with a wave of his hand. It wasn't challenging at all. They were too weak. He directly stepped into the second stage. Then the third stage, the fourth stage, the fifth stage, and the sixth stage. When he reached the seventh stage, he finally stopped. He found a place to rest. Then he ate a recovery pill. The deeper he went, the stronger the oppressive aura became. It made people feel like there was something terrifying in the depths of the Valley of Fighting Souls. However, this pressure made Ling Xiao extremely happy, because he realized that under this tremendous pressure, his hidden energy was being stimulated. The energy in his cultivation, had increased to 80%. He wasn't far away from breaking through. Along the way, he met a few disciples from Fighting Soul's sacred city, but they were all unfamiliar faces. They didn't greet him, they just left in a hurry. Normally, when people came here to cultivate, they didn't want to cause any trouble. Therefore, when they met an opponent, they would try their best to avoid them. But some people were different. Ling Xiao had a feeling that since he stepped into the Valley of Fighting Souls, someone was following him. At first, he didn't think much of it. He thought maybe they were all here to cultivate, and it was just a coincidence that they all came here together. But when he arrived at the seventh stage, the strange feeling was still there. He had no choice but to take it seriously. "Come out, I don't care who you are." Ling Xiao's cold voice sounded out. In the quiet seventh stage, all the monsters had been killed. As long as the person who killed the monsters didn't leave, the monsters wouldn't respawn. Chapter 4000. The sky suddenly started raining. The rain was not heavy. It pattered down like a silver thread. It smashed on the leaves, making rustling sounds. On a tree, a person's brows furrowed slightly. He thought that his concealment skills were very powerful. Following all the way here, he was not discovered by Ling Xiao. But he did not expect that the direction Ling Xiao was looking in was precisely him. Those eyes flickered with a strange light. It actually made him somewhat flustered in his heart. He jumped down the tree and walked towards Ling Xiao. His clothes actually did not conceal his identity at all. Disciplinary guard. Ling Xiao frowned. He originally thought that hiding in the War Soul Valley was a safe thing to do, but he did not expect that the disciplinary guard actually followed indirectly. Although divine sense could not be used here, as long as he kept following, he still would not lose track, unless Ling Xiao himself chose to escape. But would Ling Xiao escape? Since he dared to call the other party out, he had the confidence to win. Following in, they would all die here. Ling Xiao, why I came here, you should be very clear. Although the Holy Lord forgave you, our disciplinary hall won't. What the disciplinary hall defends is the laws of the War Soul sacred city. You must return to the disciplinary hall with me and accept punishment. That person looked at Ling Xiao with a cold and arrogant face. This made Ling Xiao reveal a mocking smile. Pretending for what? Still want to accept punishment? Want me to die? Just say it directly, gutless grandson. You shouldn't have come alone, right? Let those turtle bastards all come out. That person frowned. Only then did he wave his hand. In the bushes, one figure after another scurried out. In an instant, they already surrounded Ling Xiao. They either stood up from the bushes or stood on trees. their gazes all icy cold. Each person was wearing the disciplinary hall's clothes. All of them were the disciplinary hall's death warriors. Death warriors were different from the disciplinary guards. Their strength was not very strong, but each and every one of them was formed by the criminals of the War Soul Sacred City. As long as they could complete certain missions in the disciplinary hall, they could offset their sins and regain their freedom. Therefore, these people would be even more difficult to deal with than the disciplinary guards. Although the penal law men of sacrifice were not strong, they were not weak either. Ling Xiao casually glanced at them. Most of them were between the 4th and 5th divine core realm. Furthermore, his killing intent was very heavy. He was much stronger than ordinary cultivators of the same cultivation. What a grand display! It seems that your disciplinary hall also knows that I, Ling Xiao, am a pushover. In the face of such a powerful enemy, Ling Xiao still maintained his smile. It was impossible for him to die. As long as he didn't want to die, no one could kill him. Ling Xiao, don't even think about escaping. We've already sealed off the 7th stage. No one could enter and no one could leave. Unless you're dead. The leader said coldly. Or are you dead? Ling Xiao smiled. Yes, but that's impossible. That leader said contemptuously. You think that you can really run amok without any scruples after killing Taiyu? You still have a long way to go. Ling Xiao smiled. It had been a long time since he was besieged. Perhaps today would be a battle to his heart's content. He liked it. Just as he was about to strike, a white figure suddenly dashed out from the forest. She was wearing a white dress and she had a pretty face. However, her eyes were filled with cold hatred. Ling Xiao recognized this person. She was his junior disciple sister, Hinajiku from the Jiangnan Palace. Her appearance had changed the situation a little. Ling Xiao was curious as to why she was here. So he asked, Are you here to kill me as well? Hinajiku shook her head. I only kill my enemies. The leader of the disciplinary hall looked at Hinajiku with a frown on his face. Obviously, her appearance had surprised him. Hinajiku, with a disciplinary hall. Don't tell me you're trying to interfere? Don't forget, you're the Saint Lord's disciple. Ling Xiao killed the Saint Lord's disciple. That's why he must die. The leader of the disciplinary hall said, Shurganglai, I've told you I only kill my enemies. The heavens have eyes, and I've finally found you. If I'm not mistaken, the one who killed my parents was you, right? And those death warriors were the culprits who destroyed my family. Why? Hinajiku's eyes were red as she roared angrily. You're mistaken. Shurganglai said lightly. Mistaken? Do you dare to roll up your sleeves? Isn't there a scorpion tattoo there? Although Hinajiku was young at that time, she remembered it clearly. That night her parents were killed, and her family was destroyed. Only she was lucky enough to be saved by the Jiangnan Palace's governor. She was nurtured into a talent. No need, I did kill your family. Shurganglai no longer denied it. Taiyu and Zhang Ruofeng were also there. The reason is actually very simple. Zhang Ruofeng took a fancy to your mother, but who knew that woman didn't know what's good for her. We'll just wipe out your entire family. It's just a small matter, no big deal. Today, I'm telling you this because it's time for you to die. Actually, Zhang Ruofeng has always been thinking about your mother, seeing that you look more and more like her. He begged the Lord to accept you as a disciple so that he could enjoy the moonlight first. Who would have thought that kid would be killed by Ling Xiao? You, this girl, can be considered to have escaped a calamity. But since you don't cherish it, then don't blame me for being impolite. What? Hearing this, Hinajiku felt the world spinning. Her whole person fell into endless regret. In order to obtain such a qualification, she had actually abandoned her own master and those senior sisters who loved her dearly. Still with her? Lead the judge? Huang Isak Cha. The Lord won't care about this woman anyway. At this time, another voice sounded. Ling Xiao looked up and saw that there were actually two people. One of them was an acquaintance. Hua Fei Hua. Ling Xiao frowned. This woman really wanted to kill him. She actually chased him from outside to inside. Don't worry, I won't do anything today. Sure Ganglai and Sure Yong are enough. Together with those law of sacrifice, you won't have any hope of surviving. The young man next to Hua Fei Hua should be Sure Yong. Very strong. Ling Xiao looked at Sure Yong. He should be an early 7th Divine Core Warrior, and not just any ordinary 7th Divine Core Warrior. This Sure Yong was much stronger than any ordinary early 7th Divine Core Warrior. He was obviously a body cultivator as well. Just by standing there, one could feel the strength of his physical body. You killed a law of sacrifice. You must die. Sure Yong looked at Ling Xiao and said with a cold voice. He didn't talk much, and he was too lazy to bring Ling Xiao away. He just wanted to kill him right here and now. His words were filled with a strong confidence and domineering aura. Obviously, once he had decided on something, he wouldn't change his mind. Sure Yong actually felt that the law of sacrifice was making a fuss over nothing. It was just a mere Ling Xiao. He alone was more than enough to deal with him. There was no need for him to send out such a powerful cultivator. This was a little too ridiculous. Chapter 4001. The rain was getting heavier and heavier. Everyone's clothes were drenched. Speaking of which, it was strange. Normally, a Divine Core Warrior shouldn't be drenched by the rain. But the rain had done just that. Obviously, the environment in the Valley of War Souls was completely different from the outside world. The natural laws here were much stronger. Nature was much scarier. Ling Xiao stood quietly in the rain, allowing the rain to wash his clothes. His eyes were glowing brighter and brighter. Hua Fei Hua, Peak 7th Divine Core Warrior. Sure Yong, Sure Ganglai, early 7th Divine Core Warriors. Just these 3 men alone were enough to pose a huge threat to him. But he still didn't want to use the Sky Tyrant Martial Soul. His body quickly transformed into the peerless heavenly Rat Beast Soul. The rain could no longer soak his body. Just as it got close to the tough armor, it was knocked away. What? Seeing this scene, everyone's heart was shocked. Indeed, Ling Xiao had been hiding his true strength. This guy was too sneaky. Let me do it. Sure Yong leapt into the air and landed 10 meters away from Ling Xiao. A terrifying blade energy shot out from his body and into the sky. The rain was split apart. It couldn't get any closer to him. In his hand there was a long blade. It was shining with a silver light, and it was as thin as a cicada's wing. But no one dared to doubt the blade's power. With its sharpness, it could easily tear apart a warrior's body. If you don't die in 3 strikes from me, you'll be able to live. Sure Yong said with great confidence. It seemed like no one from the law enforcement palace doubted him. But Hua Fei Hua furrowed her brows. She had witnessed how terrifying Ling Xiao was. That's why she thought Sure Yong was being too careless. Sure Yong, there's no need to do that. Just kill him. That's how Tai Yu failed miserably. Hua Fei Hua shouted. City Master Hua, are you saying that I, Sure Yong, will lose to him? What a joke. Sure Yong didn't care about what Hua Fei Hua said. A cruel grin emerged on Ling Xiao's face. Since an idiot like you wants to die, I'll give you a hand. Since you want to die, I'll grant you your wish. Make your move. Ling Xiao, that's Sure Yong. You're definitely not his opponent. I'll help you. Daisy scurried over. Scram! I will not join forces with ungrateful bastards. Even if I die, I won't. Ling Xiao turned around and scolded Hinajiku. Daisy was stunned. He stared blankly at Ling Xiao. Yes, she was a person who had betrayed her own master. She had chosen to betray Jiangnan Palace when it was in danger. What qualifications did he have to join hands with the people of Jiangnan Palace? With a bitter smile, she retreated to the side. But she didn't leave. Her enemy was here. If she wanted revenge, she couldn't leave. Moreover, she was worried about Ling Xiao. Boom! Saber Chi exploded and Saber Intent was released. With Sure Yong as the center, the curtain of rain was completely forced back. The long saber in his hand that was as thin as a cicada's wing released an incomparably terrifying aura. peak saber intent. Moreover, it was an innate 30% saber soul. Interesting. This was the first time Ling Xiao had met a young warrior whose martial intent was on par with his, and whose martial soul was also at the same level as his. Shi Yong was only 2 to 3 years older than him. To be able to reach such a level, he was indeed a genius. No wonder his strength was so frightening amongst his peers. When Daisy sensed the violent saber intent, her expression changed dramatically. This Shi Yong was truly worthy of being ranked in the top 3 amongst the disciplinary guards of the disciplinary hall. They were both at the early 7th divine core realm, but Shi Ganglai was far weaker than him. She looked at Ling Xiao, wanting to see how Ling Xiao was going to deal with this. But she noticed that Ling Xiao still had a calm smile on his face. A blood-red sword was also taken out. A similarly frightening sword intent exploded out. The power of the innate fiend god sword was unleashed on the blood sovereign sword. Both men's auras clashed. The rainwater splashed in all directions, but no matter how hard it tried, it couldn't get close to the two men. A strange scene had appeared on the battlefield. It was raining heavily, but it seemed like the rainwater had forgotten about the space where Ling Xiao and Shi Yong were standing. His sword intent is strong as well. I wonder if he can withstand 3 of Shi Yong's attacks. Daisy felt guilty towards the Jiangnan Palace. Since Ling Xiao was a disciple of the Jiangnan Palace, she naturally had to care about him. Even if she was despised by Ling Xiao, she didn't care anymore. After she got her revenge, she was going to accompany her parents in the afterlife. Shi Yong raised the saber in his hand. Ling Xiao raised the sword in his hand as well. The saber and sword caused the aura in the air to change. Looks like you won't disappoint me. My saber is a saber used to kill, and I never use it in a fight. Therefore, whenever I draw my saber, someone will be killed. It's either I kill you or you kill me. But I've drawn my saber 72 times, and those who died were all my opponents. Shi Yong's confidence came from his past achievements. These achievements made him strong, made him proud. Then, I'm afraid today will be an exception. Ling Xiao chuckled, not taking Shi Yong's words seriously. Is that so? Shi Yong sneered and finally slashed out. Kill! His roar was as loud as thunder in the rain. A saber radiance almost completely split the entire curtain of rain. In the void, the saber light condensed into a huge saber shadow, as if it was condensed by rain. But everyone could feel the terrifying power contained in the saber light. At that moment, Ling Xiao also made his move. He still didn't use any martial skills. He just condensed his sword intent into the blood sovereign sword. He raised his sword and blocked the terrifying saber light. The sound of metal clashing exploded in the void. It was extremely ear-piercing. Many people couldn't help but cover their ears. Your saber is a treasured, heavenly king weapon, but my sword isn't. I'm stronger than you. After a moment of stalemate, Ling Xiao's lips curled into a cold smile. The moment he touched Shi Yong, he knew how much weight Shi Yong had. He was indeed very strong. He was much stronger than Taiyu. But so what? He had the body of a peak 7th Order Emperor. The blood sovereign sword was also much stronger than a treasured, heavenly king weapon. How could a mere Shi Yong stop him? You said that if I can block 3 of your moves, you'll let me go. Now I'm telling you, if you can block one of my moves and not die, I'll let you go. Ling Xiao sneered. His expression was full of disdain and indifference. What an arrogant kid. How could he say such words? Is his brain flooded with water? Shi Ganglai sneered, thinking that Ling Xiao was a little crazy. Hinajika frowned, also thinking that Ling Xiao's words were a little unbelievable. Only Hua Feihua was nervous. Ling Xiao was like a madman when he dealt with Taiyu and Zhang Ruofeng. But in the end, it proved that he wasn't crazy. Everything he said and did proved that his words were correct. Shi Yong, don't underestimate your opponent. Hua Feihua shouted. She hoped that Shi Yong could treat this battle seriously. It's too late. Chapter 4002. When Ling Xiao unleashed his full strength, crack! The blade in Shi Yong's hand suddenly broke. Not good. Only now did he realize how important Fei Hua's warning was. But too bad, it was too late for him to dodge. Ling Xiao's sword broke Shi Yong's blade. Then it pierced through Shi Yong's dantian. He could feel his inner core being cut apart. His true yuan started leaking out. No. His body was extremely tough, but it was pierced through by Ling Xiao's sword. This proved how powerful the sword in Ling Xiao's hand was. Big brother. Shi Ganglai was dumbfounded. Seeing Shi Yong being killed by Ling Xiao, he was both angry and scared. This Ling Xiao was much more frightening than they had imagined. No wonder Fei Hua, the mayor, had warned them not to underestimate their enemy. Early 7th Divine Core Realm? Do you really think I used all my strength when I fought with Taiyu? Ling Xiao pulled out the blood-sovereign sword and kicked Shi Yong's corpse away. You guys are better at courting death than anyone else. After finishing his words, a cruel killing intent flashed through Ling Xiao's eyes. In the next second he moved. His figure was as fast as lightning. Not good. Be careful, everyone. The men from the disciplinary palace were still in shock after witnessing Shi Yong's death. They never expected Ling Xiao to take the initiative to attack them when he was surrounded by dozens of men. The entire place was thrown into chaos. Die. A cold word came out from Ling Xiao's mouth. The blood-red sword beam pierced through the air. With a single strike, 3 men were killed at the same time. They were pierced through by the sword like candied haws. Their dantians were all pierced through. What a crazy man, he just started killing. It's like he doesn't care about the men from the disciplinary palace at all. Hinajiku stood there. She was so shocked that she couldn't even speak. The men from the disciplinary palace were following Ling Xiao because they wanted to kill Ling Xiao, but they never expected that they would be the ones being killed. In the blink of an eye, Shi Yong was killed. Another 3 men of sacrifice were killed. Ling Xiao would not wait for others to kill him. If you don't die, then I'll live. This was the truth of this world. The world of martial artists was not the world of mortals. Regardless of whether he had good intentions or not, others would not let him go. Since that was the case, there was no need for him to be kind to those who wanted to kill him. Kill those who should be killed. Show no mercy. Kill again. Ling Xiao's sword had no intention of stopping. Kill 3. Kill 3 more. The people from the disciplinary hall had just come to their senses and were unable to come up with a countermeasure. Who would have thought that Ling Xiao would be so terrifying? Even Shi Yong could be killed. Even if they wanted to stop him, what could they do? In front of Ling Xiao, wasn't there still no chance? Sword light flashed and a life fell. Ling Xiao was like a bolt of lightning, flashing through the crowd. Every time it flashed, someone would lose their life. Even if the god of death were to descend into the world, it would probably be nothing more than this. Damn it, stop right there. Shi Ganglai finally came to his senses and violently attacked Ling Xiao. He did not use a weapon, because he was better at punching and kicking. A fist smashed down, like a small mountain smashing down on Ling Xiao. Can you touch me? Ling Xiao did not want to meet Shi Ganglai head-on, because even if he could repel Shi Ganglai, his attack would be blocked. So he used the falling plum-clear shadow step and easily avoided Shi Ganglai's attack. The sword in his hand pierced into the body of a man of sacrifice. You tried to kill me in exchange for your freedom. Then I'm really sorry. I, Ling Xiao, do not have the mood to help others. Since you want to kill me, I will kill you all. Shi Ganglai, your opponent is me. Hinajiku finally made her move. She wanted to kill her enemy. After so many years of cultivation, even betraying Zhang and Palace, wasn't she waiting for this opportunity? Shi Ganglai was right in front of her. Her enemy was right in front of her. Of course, she had to attack. Bitch, I think you're tired of living. Shi Ganglai felt helpless. He could only face Hinajiku. Hinajiku was not weak. Although she was only at the peak 6th divine core realm, her combat strength was no weaker than his. This girl was a genius in the truest sense. She was much better than him. Rainwater kept falling down, mixing with the blood on the ground. The entire ground had turned blood red. It was impossible to tell which part was rainwater and which part was blood. Even though the death warriors of the disciplinary court did not fear death, Ling Xiao was too strong. They were all killed by Ling Xiao's sword. But what made Ling Xiao frown was it seemed like there were more men of sacrifice from the disciplinary palace. No matter how many men he killed, more men would come from the forest to replace them. It was as if there was no end to them. His enemy had indeed come up with a perfect plan. If Shi Yong and Shi Ganglai failed, they would have to rely on these death warriors to tire Ling Xiao to death. Even if you don't die of exhaustion, as long as you have the slightest mistake, they would be immediately captured by these terrifying death warriors, and then there would be no chance for them to turn the tables. Men of sacrifice were indeed men of sacrifice. They were fearless, just like those immortal warriors. They would use their lives to hinder him, to keep him busy, and to prevent him from unleashing his full potential. But was Ling Xiao someone who would expose his weakness so easily? Right at this moment, he opened his Tai Chi eye. Ling Xiao accurately captured every single change in his surroundings. He could even clearly see a wet bug crawling through grass. Everything was under his control. His enemies would be killed by him, and he wouldn't expose any flaws. Ling Xiao wasn't afraid of these men. What he was worried about was Hua Feihua. Hua Feihua was a cunning woman. She wouldn't approach Ling Xiao on her own initiative. She would just wait for an opportunity to attack. A sudden attack was enough to cause Ling Xiao to be flustered. As for those men of sacrifice, they had become her shields, her skills. Ling Xiao wanted to kill her, but he couldn't touch her at all. She wanted to kill Ling Xiao, but there were opportunities everywhere. Even so, Hua Feihua was still very surprised. In her heart, she already had a high opinion of Ling Xiao. But after this battle, she finally understood. Ling Xiao, this brat, had hidden too much previously. Sometimes, when facing the men of sacrifice's attacks, Ling Xiao didn't even try to dodge, because those attacks couldn't even break through his defense. Ling Xiao only needed to deal with Hua Feihua's attacks at all times. Nine-headed hell snake, beast soul, nine-headed snake, poison domain. Ling Xiao had his own way of dealing with a group of people. He finally used his ultimate move. The air was filled with a black poisonous fog. All the men of sacrifice from the disciplinary court started coughing. Some of the weaker ones fell to the ground on the spot, their bodies twitching as they died. The stronger ones could only circulate their vital essence to resist the poisonous fog's invasion. But in this way, their strength was even weaker. And Ling Xiao had an even more vicious attack. 10,000 snakes. It was still the nine-headed hell snake's attack. Tens of thousands of poisonous snakes suddenly appeared from the black fog, viciously biting those people. Chapter 4003. Hua Feihua's expression was extremely ugly. Ling Xiao's strength had completely exceeded her expectations. She had thought that even if she did not make a move today, she would definitely be able to kill Ling Xiao. However, the reality was completely different from what she had imagined. Countless venomous snakes were biting the poisoned warriors of the criminal law. Even she was constantly being bitten by the venomous snakes. The terrifying black poisonous fog was extremely powerful, so she did not dare to be careless at all. She was afraid that she would also be poisoned to death. Even if she had brought hundreds of criminal lawmen of sacrifice this time, they would not be able to deal with the terrifying black poisonous fog. They would not be able to do anything. Hua Feihua knew that she had to do something. She released her martial soul behind her, which turned out to be a terrifying man-eating flower. Then she took out a strange bag. After fusing with her true origin, the bag produced a crazy suction force. It actually sucked in the poisonous fog and the tens of thousands of venomous snakes. Continue, kill! Hua Feihua shouted for Ling Xiao, and more people rushed out of the dense forest. After expending so much effort, this hunt must not fail. Otherwise, it would really be a double loss for them. Trap! 8 people flew out of the crowd. The 8 of them each held a spiritual talisman in their hands. The spiritual talismans shone with the light of incantations. An inescapable net suddenly appeared. The golden net was about to trap Ling Xiao. There was a terrifying aura on the net. No matter what it touched, it would not be able to move. Xuanji martial soul, size manipulation. Ling Xiao had mastered 4 of the 72 Xuanji arts. Previously, he had used instant blooming flower, and now he was using size manipulation. He noticed that the net could trap people, but it could not trap extremely small creatures. In just an instant, Ling Xiao seemed to have disappeared into thin air. The people holding the spiritual talismans were dumbfounded. In the next moment, Ling Xiao appeared again. The sword in his hand released a cold sword intent. He killed 2 people in an instant. The net-like object could no longer be used. However, at this moment, Hua Feihua had already charged over. She knew that a sneak attack from the outside wouldn't be of much use. The only way to stop Ling Xiao was for her to make a move as well. The huge man-eating flower opened its bloody mouth and bit down on Ling Xiao. Martial souls had different uses. Some could increase a martial artist's battle prowess. Some could be used for possession. And some were like this man-eating flower, which could directly participate in battle. Ogre! Under the attack, Hua Feihua shouted coldly. The man-eating flower martial spirit suddenly became very big. It seemed to have merged with Hua Feihua's true energy, making it even more ferocious. The man-eating flowers covered an area of more than 10 meters around them. The pitiful 4 law enforcers had no time to dodge and were directly swallowed by the man-eating flower. He didn't even have time to scream. Hua Feihua was indeed a cruel woman. In order to kill Ling Xiao, she did not hesitate to kill the law enforcement men of sacrifice. This woman. Ling Xiao frowned, and his right hand suddenly transformed into a huge dragon claw. It slapped out with its claws. The huge dragon claw was a partial beast transformation. This was also one of the characteristics of a beast god martial artist. Partial beast transformation could reduce energy consumption and focus on local attacks. The infinite heavenly rat beast soul transformed. His right hand transformed into the frost divine dragon's dragon claw. He blocked the man-eating flower martial spirit. He spat out a cold breath, and the man-eating flower seemed to be frozen. However, at this moment, Ling Xiao did not feel safe at all. Instead, he felt a fatal danger coming toward him. This danger was enough to take his life. He was like a prey, and the threat was like a beast in the dark. It had been waiting there, ready to give him a fatal blow at any time. This person chose the right moment to attack. It happened to be when he was blocking Hua Feihua's man-eating flower. There was no time to guard against a sneak attack from behind. It seemed that Hua Feihua did not even know about this person's existence, so she did not do anything during the battle. In addition, this person's hiding position was quite far away, and Ling Xiao was focused on the battle, so his Tai Chi eye could not capture it. There was no need to talk about divine consciousness. This was the War Soul Valley, so divine consciousness could not be fully utilized. Even so, Ling Xiao could still feel the danger when it was about to strike. Since he felt it, he would not die. Indestructible, impervious to fire and water. At that moment, Ling Xiao did not dodge. Instead, he used the 2 divine skills of the King Kong ape beast soul. Whether it was a physical attack or an elemental attack, the damage would be greatly reduced. Coupled with his strong physical body, he did not believe that the other party could hurt him. At this moment, he did not have many choices. He had just used size manipulation, so he had to wait for half an hour before he could use it again. It was impossible to dodge with the falling plum clear shadow step, because Hua Feihua was entangled with him and did not give him a chance. Therefore, the best choice was to make his defense even more terrifying. Ding! The moment he activated the King Kong Ape Beast Soul skill, the cold arrow was nailed to it. This arrow was extremely powerful, and even his physical body would be pierced directly. It also contained terrifying fire damage. Luckily, he had used the King Kong Ape Beast Soul skill. By the time the arrow reached his body, it had already lost most of its power. Ling Xiao quickly backed off. This guy who hid in the dark was the most dangerous. Therefore, he decided to kill this guy first. The arrow had exposed the other party's location. While Ling Xiao was backing off, he took out the profound theory bow, pulled back the bowstring, and released the arrow. Ah! A miserable scream sounded out from the forest. A man's head was hit by the arrow. His dantian was pierced as well. Ling Xiao could shoot 3 arrows at a time. He didn't notice the other party's presence before. That was why he was ambushed. Now, with the help of the Tai Chi eye, he could see the other party's exact location, and he could easily aim. This man wasn't too strong. He was only a peak 6 divine core warrior. He was weaker than Shi Yong and Shi Ganglai, but he was hiding in the dark, and his ability to hide was incredible. It was hard for anyone to find him. Also, the bow in his hand was a rare grade Heavenly King weapon. Without even looking, Jiang Qin knew this guy had a high status in the Palace of Law. After killing the other party, Ling Xiao dashed over and snatched the other party's storage ring and the bow in his hand. Ling Xiao's profound theory bow was only a common grade Heavenly King weapon, and it was outdated. It was still useful in those big countries, but in the 3,000 saint cities, it had lost some of its value. Luckily, he could use this rare grade Heavenly King weapon to increase its power. By the time Hua Feihua arrived, everything had already ended. She looked at the dead body on the ground. She let out a helpless sigh. The Palace of Law didn't underestimate their enemy. They didn't underestimate Ling Xiao at all. But Ling Xiao was still too strong. He was so strong that they never expected him to be so strong.